Welcome to the planning board meeting, the town meeting. We'll start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We're going to open up our regular meeting with other matters, and that, at the beginning, Ken wants to read a letter. First thing we're going to do it first, and we'll go into our regular meeting.
Okay, thank you. We just came from a comprehensive plan review committee meeting earlier in the year. The town got together in an event, Engage Armenia. We've got all the results back. We just discussed them, and this comes out of that meeting. This is my letter, my opinions, no one else on the board, so I'll read it. For the last 2 years, the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, as empowered by the Town of Armenia Board, has been reviewing the 2007 Comprehensive Plan with the intention of updating an 18-year-old document as well as revising the plan with an eye to the future. While no one knows where Armenia will be in 2043, 18 years from now, planning for that unknown must be determined and articulated now. The board, in recognizing this, allotted $30,000 to begin the process of writing the new comprehensive plan. Earlier this summer, the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee engaged with the community and began the process to determine and guide Armenia into the future. It would be naive to think that this future can be realized given our current set of zoning and town codes. Once the plan is complete, the codes can be revised accordingly. I am requesting that the board, this is to the town board, enact a moratorium on all future projects until such time as the new comprehensive plan is approved. This is not an unusual request. Many communities have been in this situation, and several have instituted a moratorium or have won the right to do so through litigation. Here is a summary of a few. Town of Lancaster, 2024, the town enacted a 1-year moratorium on new commercial residential development, such as apartment complexes, while it revised its zoning code and comprehensive plan. The stated purpose was to maintain the status quo while the town developed updated regulations. Town of Stony Point, 2025, the town placed a 6-month moratorium on certain single-family homes to give planners time to revise the town's zoning scheme. The action was in response to concerns about oversized homes being built on small lots, which residents felt were out of scale with the surrounding neighborhood. Town of Guilderland, 2024. The town approved a 6-month moratorium on certain residential construction to review its 23-year-old comprehensive plan that was prompted by public concerns about the impacts of development on affordable housing and the local water supply. It goes on. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 more cases, and that's all within the last few years. This is a strategy to make sure that we are realizing the wishes of all of the residents and all of the stakeholders of Armenia. For us to do anything less would be irresponsible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
I would like to make a comment on that as well. I was part of the 2007 comprehensive plan back in the day. And we did have a moratorium in town at the time because there were issues with zoning. So this is not unusual for the town of Armenia to have a moratorium on building until the dust settles. So I think it would be very wise if we moved in that direction. My opinion.
Okay. That being said, we need a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Share with other matters. North Red Oak LLC Armenia Trails, Project 426 Old Route 22.
Mr. Chair, I guess that one's me.
Okay,
The applicant is here,
okay.
but this is a rather simple matter. You recall last month, you basically called it complete and referred it back
Yes.
to the town board.
Yes.
The town board at their meeting, their recent meeting, adopted a resolution, and I will read you the pertinent provision.
Okay.
The resolution, they basically accepted the application They decided to refer it out to the county and the zoning board of appeals, as was your recommendation.
Yes.
However, it says, subject to confirmation of the completeness of the application by the planning board at their November 12th, 2025 meeting. To that end, if you recall, last month, they had a couple minor things that still had to be resolved, but the application was otherwise complete. The fact that one of the items that's incomplete is the seeker determination. It requires a habitat assessment for endangered species, which is, in my knowledge, underway or very soon to be underway. They were still working with the fire district. They have continued to advance that.
Yeah.
And they are continuing to work with New York State Electric and Gas. None of those three things deem this application incomplete. And matter of fact, it would be my recommendation, it was my recommendation last month, that the application be deemed by this board to be complete for circulation. The fact that we still need comments from, on endangered species, the fact that we need to continue the dialogue with the fire district and continue they are things that normally during the course of events they would go, but they in and of themselves do not represent any significant issues. And the sooner we get comments from the other agencies, notably the county and the zoning board of appeals, everything should come together, and then we would be able to make our further recommendation with respect to a neg deck and a resolution at a later date. But for now, I think a simple oral resolution that the planning board deems the application as complete for the purposes of circulation and to satisfy the town board resolution.
What's your pleasure, ladies and gentlemen on the board? Got any comments, questions, so forth?
Nope.
I make a motion, we accept the application and move forward.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. There it is.
Thank you,
There
Mr.
go.
Chair. Thank you,
Thank
board
you.
members.
You're welcome.
Did you want to say, did you want to mention that?
Yeah, John, the email, this cover email and the attachment didn't include the rest of the board. It just has Nina, Bob, and Judy. So this is the first time I've seen this.
Oh,
Yep, the two.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
you
that's
didn't get it.
usually I
It's
send,
printed in the materials here, but
usually I send those and then Judy distributes them.
I sent to the rest of them,
So I'm sorry.
I sent it out to the rest of them, because I saw that myself.
That was my error, because normally, the custom and practice to date has been, I just send it to the chair and Judy and
I see.
Paul, and
Okay.
then she would circulate as appropriate. And I apologize, but you got a general overall view real
I
quick.
got it now.
Thank you.
Okay. Need to accept the minutes from 10/22/25. Need a motion.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so carries. Public hearing. Open a public hearing up for Martin's Fox Hollow Farm LLC, Timber Harvest, Smithfield Valley Road, Armenia, New York. Come up, state your name, and take it from there.
Oh, I'm Josh, I'm the forester.
Okay,
Yeah. Do you need me to say anything, or?
not really.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Sounds good to me.
Is there any public comment? State your name, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is George Bestranson. I live at 3498 Route 343 in Amenia. I didn't see the plan or proposal on the website, so I can't really comment on that. But I did have some questions about this program and wanted to know what your scope was, what your responsibilities are for these logging programs that go through. It would seem like you want to avoid any clear cuts, especially in areas where there's scenic roads or views. But is part of your program to improve the health of the forest, to improve the biodiversity, to eliminate or at least control some of the invasive trees that are going on? I don't know if it is or not. I'd like to know. I mean, it may be outside of what you do. I don't know.
Go ahead.
The simple answer is that the planning board has an obligation under your zoning code to review all timber harvesting permits and if they meet certain criteria, to grant them basically site plan approval. One of the criteria is, and the town has, retained the services of a consulting forester who reviews all said plans. They actually have two on retainer because they kind of overlap from time to time. And basically, what these foresters do is they review the application for its completeness and for the various issues that you just identified. They make sure they're not clear cutting, they make sure they're doing it to improve the health of the forest. There's a whole series of things, and there's best management practices that are employed. So it is a rather detailed review, and most of the properties that do come in are part of an overall state program of forest management. So it's a rather detailed program, Mr. Bestranson, and all the information is in the file. And this one was reviewed by your consulting forester, and he found the plan to be acceptable within the limits of the program and the requirements of the town, and recommended that the town proceed with the application.
Did I miss it on the website, or is it
I
just
don't know
not?
if it was on the website, sir. It's been in front of this board since July of this year, so it's been back and forth a couple times.
Okay, thanks, that's all.
Josh, do you want to give a little, like, it's X amount of trees and X amount of acres?
I could if I had that information.
I think it's like 50 acres, something, like 200 trees.
Yeah,
You're talking about, what, 50 acres?
it's 50 acres, correct.
The project is, I can do, thank you. The project involves the selective thinning of 50 acres of the property on the easterly side of Smithfield Valley Road. And the skidder area, the landing area, everything is internal to the site. It's in an existing farmyard, an existing gravelled area. So basically, this is, and the amount of trees that Mr. Prentice suggested that was being removed was more than appropriate, and it would not be visible from the surrounding area and has no impact on the scenic overlay. But it is a rather small area on the east side, up in a corner, and everything is internal to the site. You won't see, unlikely you'd see anything, including the harvest activity itself.
And this is located on Fox Hollow Drive?
Well, it's the utility road across the
Well, it
street.
says
It's across the street, so
Yeah.
Fox Hollow Drive.
could be. It's up on the hill. As you go up, it's on the right.
It's on the right
It's the east side of the road.
It's up past the utility barns, right?
Yeah.
That's where the fire was up in there.
The what?
The fire a few years back. No?
Before
Okay.
my time.
Didn't burn the woods down.
No. Okay, is there any other public comment?
Should we acknowledge the letter received from Mr. Bernadette?
Yes.
Yes,
So that's after the public comment.
it's after public comment. All right. Is there any other public comment? Being that said, we have to,
I move we close the public comment.
Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Now we gotta, address the letter, right? This is-
We did receive a letter from an adjoining neighbor, and, sorry, I actually plotted out a map and a few other things to show you. Would you like me to read it?
Go ahead. I was gonna read.
Dear members of the Meany Planning Board, as an adjoining landowner, I request that all steps be taken to guarantee that no trees will be accidentally harvested, no tree branches or stumps deposited on roads or trails created, and that there will be no impact on adjoining parcels. Stephen,
Ben Ardette.
thank you. 252 Smithfield Valley Road. Boy, cold reading.
And here again, it's proposed with best management practices. It's been logged before, they're using existing logging. And the property involved is down here. He's actually on this side of the road, 2 properties away from the site. On the other side of the road, he does adjoin the property that's not being logged, but I think it's all been marked in the field, if I'm not mistaken, including the property lines. So there should be, and it's under supervision when it's being done, there should be no issues.
Also, just of note is the requirement for a $5,000 financial guarantee to ensure proper erosion control, stormwater management, reforestation maintenance, and protection of roads on and off the property from damage relating to timber harvest, stormwater, or trucking.
So that's on the resolution, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So with that being said, we have to go through the short environmental assessment form. John?
You mean, no, I got it, I'm,
Yeah, so this is an unlisted action under seeker, so you do need to go through the short environmental assessment form part 2.
Which is,
so, Mr. Chair, you should have received, I did prepare one this morning for everyone's benefit.
Right in front of us.
And if we go through, there are 11 questions.
Yep.
And I can go through them individually, and I will.
Please do.
Question number 1, material of conflict with adopted land use planning or zoning. It's a no. It is consistent with zoning. It's been reviewed and found that way by both myself and the consulting forester. Change in intensity in land use. No, this has always been part of the forest management program, so it's consistent with that. Will it change or impair the character or quality of this existing community? It's ongoing maintenance and should not have any impact at all on the community. It is not in a critical environmental area. It won't increase the existing levels of traffic or existing infrastructure. As I said, the landing and loading area is internal to the site on basically a prepared gravel farmyard. So they're going to be out of sight, out of mind, loaded up, and then occasionally you see a truck down at the road, which is not different than what you see now. Will the proposed action cause an increase in energy and fails to incorporate reasonable available energy conservation? It's really not applicable. The answer is no. Will a proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies, public-private wastewater treatment facilities? Simple answer is no. Will it impair the character of quality of historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? It's not in an area of architectural, archaeological, or historic concerns. It is within the scenic overlay, but you won't be able to see it when it's done. So that answer is no. Will the action result in adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora and fauna? The project site is within several hundred feet of a identified bog turtle sighting, but the New York State DEC, via a letter dated September 18th, 2025, determined that so long as the timber harvest takes place between October 1st and March 31st, the proposed activity is not likely to impact the bog turtle, and that no permit is required. And that is in our record, Mr. Chair. Is the proposed action to result in increased potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? The simple answer is no. It's a forestry operation, and they're required by New York State to implement best management practices, and by doing so, it's presumed that they will protect from erosion, flooding, or drainage. And will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? Simple answer is no. I did do the part 3, just a brief, that was the letter I read about DEC, and my recommendation is that based on the information and analysis and any supporting documentation, the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. And I offer that for your consideration this evening.
And that is something, if the board is comfortable with making that determination, again, we would recommend just a simple voice vote, and then I have it referenced here in the approval resolution.
We need a motion?
I move that we accept the short environmental assessment form as presented.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, so carries. We're moving to the resolution now.
Okay, then. So, just jumping right to the now therefore, Now therefore be it resolved in accordance with section 121.65 of the zoning law, the planning board hereby approves the application for timber harvesting on the property. Be it further resolved that pursuant to 274A of town law and the zoning law, the planning board imposes the following conditions on the approval of the application. The applicant shall satisfy any outstanding comments from the planning board's engineer. A financial guarantee shall be submitted to the planning board in the amount of $5,000 to ensure proper erosion control, stormwater management, reforestation maintenance, and protections of roads on and off the property from damage relating to the timber harvest, stormwater, and trucking. Financial guarantee must be approved by the town attorney and town board as to form sufficiency, manner of execution, and surety, and prior to undertaking the project on the property, the applicant shall pay the outstanding invoices to the planning board's consultants incurred in connection with reviewing the application. Be it further resolved that the planning board hereby authorizes the chairman to stamp and sign the approved forestry management plans. That's the site plan approval that you're doing here upon the applicant's satisfaction of the above conditions. In accordance with 128-68E of the town zoning law, the site plan approval shall expire if the applicant fails to undertake the project, obtain any necessary building permit, or to comply with the applicable conditions of the site plan approval within 18 months of its issuance. The planning board may grant a one-time 6-month extension. The site plan approval may be revoked by the planning board if the applicant violates the site plan approval or its conditions or engages in any construction or alteration not authorized by the approval. Any violation of the site plan approval or its conditions shall be deemed a violation of the zoning law and shall be subject to enforcement action. And that be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be filed in the town clerk's office within 5 days and also sent to the applicant. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. I note that we do have to correct the spelling of Ms. Bullock's name and add another Z. But that's the resolution as presented.
Be further resolved that this resolution take effect immediately. A motion made by, who wants to make the motion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Paul, on page 2, I mentioned this in an email to you earlier today.
Yep.
Page 2, under the third, be it further resolved, clause section 1, it says the site plan approval shall expire if the applicant fails to undertake the project, obtain any necessary building permit,
Yep.
or to comply with the applicable conditions, etc. My question to you is, should we revise this to have a more specific type of permit for harvesting timber instead of building permit?
It is it is a site plan approval that you're granting. And so this is essentially right out of the zoning law.
And to your point, your site plan approval constitutes the permit. There is no other permit for
Yeah,
timber harvest.
yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
I move we accept the resolution.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. You want to look over now, Judy?
Foregoing resolution was voted upon with all members of the planning board voting as follows. Robert Boyles Jr., chairperson.
Yes.
Nina Peak, deputy chairperson.
Yes.
Lizette Bullock.
Yes.
James Walsh.
Yes.
Walter D. Frick.
Yes.
Kenneth Polsky.
Yes.
And Jamie Viziello.
Yes.
Okay. Going right along. Going right along. Next, public
We're all
hearing.
set, Jeff.
We're all set.
Thank you
Good
very
to go.
much.
Next is, Holt Residence, 81 Randall Road, single-family dwelling site plan application update. Public hearing is now open. Does anyone have any public comment?
Do you guys want to make a little brief presentation? That would-
This is fine.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pedro Marmolejos. I represent the applicants at 81 Randall Road. And by way of summary, my clients aim to improve their property by building a two-bedroom addition to the existing residence on the property. The existing residence falls within 100 feet of the adjacent watercourse, the Weebatuck. The intent of the proposed addition is to not encroach any closer than the encroachment of the existing structure. The existing structure is 81.2 feet away from the center line of the watercourse, and our proposed addition will be further away at 84 feet, so it will not go any closer. The addition will not result in degradation of the scenic character and will be aesthetically compatible with its surroundings. It intends to continue the aesthetics of the existing house. The proposed addition will not result in erosion or upstream pollution from surface or subsurface runoff. At this time, the proposed addition has been submitted to DEC for review and has obtained a permit. The Holts have been careful stewards of their property and often volunteer to help improve the surrounding community. In the past, they have assisted with cleaning the landscaping at the intersection of Leedsville and Randall Road. They have filed with DEC to help stock over 2,000 brown trout in Weebatuck. They have assisted with the removal of several dead ash trees on Randall's Road and are replacing them with 15 new ones, including dogwood, witch hazel, and crimson maple. They see themselves as members of the community for the long term and believe in protecting its unique character. We respectfully request the planning board modify the required stream corridor overlay setback from the watercourse on this property to reflect the setback of the existing house at 81 feet from the center line. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment? Nobody? No one wants to speak? Wow. Pretty amazing. Wow. Okay, with that being said, I guess we need a motion to close the public hearing, because no one wants to speak.
I'll make the motion, close the public hearing.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. John, you got something for us here?
I did have a memo, and basically, just about everything in the memo has been satisfied. The only thing that there's a couple minor details. They still need a permit from the highway superintendent. They're negotiating with her. She's not going to permit 2 driveways, so I think they're gonna have to modify their site plan a little bit to reduce down to 1. And that's the standard practice in the town, 1 driveway. The only other thing is, your code, the principal dwelling on a lot that's in the stream corridor is supposed to be a minimum of 100-foot distance from the high water mark of the creek. In this case, the existing house is about 53 feet or thereabouts, I forget what the exact number is, from the stream. The proposed addition is slightly farther back, but again, it's within that 100 feet. However, because this is an existing lot of record, and the existing house was there prior to the adoption of zoning, which was the current zoning code, which would have been July 19th of 2007, you have the ability to modify the setback and allow a lesser distance than 100 feet, providing it meets a couple criteria, that it won't degrade the scenic character, which the gentleman covered, that it won't result in erosion or stream pollution or surface or subsurface runoff, and it will comply with applicable provisions of this chapter. In other words, it otherwise complies with zoning or they got variances. So in my estimation, and that's the only other matter that has to be considered by you, we did prepare a draft resolution that incorporates that determination, because I think it makes sense. The house has been there for a number of years.
Yes, it has.
And so I don't think that, since they do have their variances and everything else, they're pretty much good to go if you people are comfortable with the current proposal. I know a lot of people have some issues with the size of the house, but it is what it is. There are bigger and there are smaller here in town.
That's the way it goes.
So,
I get it. Paul, you have
Well,
anything?
John, do you want to talk about the discrepancy that was raised in the email that came from the
Oh,
applicant?
yeah, we did get an email, and I apologize. I measured the distances that are in the resolution, and I used, they were measured from a PDF, but when you actually measure them from the AutoCAD drawings as the architect did, they're slightly lesser dimensions. So I think my recommendation was 63 feet. It actually is truly 60 feet, the new addition. The existing building is about 54, I think it is. Can't find that quickly, but, so my recommendation it would be to go with the lesser number of 60 feet and be all set.
No, I can read the resolution if you guys are.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Can you just clarify, or can you guys just clarify, so there's the existing building which is within the regulated 100-foot buffer, and I can understand, that given the allowance in the zoning, waiving that provision, but I'm unclear as to whether or not the addition is also located within that 100-foot buffer.
The addition is also located within that
So
100
new
foot.
building in the buffer, and so I guess my question is,
If we put it outside the buffer, it would be virtually in the right-of-way for Randall's Road.
so there is no alternative for the applicant?
Not a practical alternative, and what they
Okay.
did is they actually tweaked their house so that they didn't get any closer, they actually moved it farther away, so, and without violating the front yards, so they did their best with the available area.
Okay, because there seems to be a lot of other area here where they could have put an addition, so I guess my point is just that if we're going to, planning board is going to waive that requirement, that it needs to be documented in the resolution, the specific reason why we're waiving it for this project, so that it doesn't become something, so that it is documented that we made this exception, or we waived this provision for this project because there was no reasonable alternative
Okay.
to locating the building elsewhere.
I have no problem with that, Paul, we can just,
No, I mean, yeah,
that's fine.
we're not gonna do it right now, but you can direct us to do that, or you guys can wait and do this resolution in December.
My intention is not to delay. My intention is to clarify for the record that we're waiving this provision for this application for a very specific reason, and that reason is documented in the resolution. And then it can be incorporated later, but I just think it's important that
No
when we
problem.
make exceptions to things, we're very clear as to why.
Okay.
Okay?
The purpose of documenting, from your standpoint, is so that everybody who subsequently comes forward and, but are we doing more harm than good in that? So this is a house that was built inside of a subsequently zoned buffer that wants an addition that will also be, that will not be compliant with the subsequent zoning. So really, any house that is going to ask for an addition that's inside the buffer is going to.
Well, it's the wetland buffer. It's the stream corridor buffer.
It's a stream corridor buffer.
Yeah, it's not an area, I mean, they already got their area
Right.
variance,
Right.
but this is a stream,
And-
a regulated buffer.
Under the waiver provisions in your code, that's not a zoning board matter, it's actually a planning board matter, because they want you to look at the totality of the picture. So, to Ms. Peak's point, the totality of the picture is, there's no practical alternative. In other words, if you were to strike that 100-foot line, the developable area of this lot basically doesn't exist. So there is no practical alternative, because on the one side of the house is the septic system, on the other side, the wetlands get closer, there's a drainage area, there's a few other things. So this is basically the only place they could put it, and they put it without further compromising their setback. So, to Ms. Peak's point, I see no reason why we could not resolve that, we could not modify that, where, now therefore be it resolved to include that rationale, Paul.
Sure.
Okay.
I agree.
Can we approve this subject to amendment?
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yes,
Yes, we should be able to, yes. But what I suggest is we grant this with the amendment to it and move forward.
Okay.
So moved.
You want to read it?
Yeah, go
ahead.
ahead. You're doing a
So,
fine job. We're paying you a lot of money. Take care of it.
Yeah. Anyway, so this paragraph will be modified But now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby determines that the proposed will not degrade scenic character and is aesthetically character compatible with the surroundings, will not result in erosion or stream pollution from surface or subsurface runoff, and complies with all provisions in the code, thereby permitting lesser setbacks to the watercourse of 56 feet and 60 feet rather than the required 100-foot setback. Be it further resolved that in accordance with the zoning law, the planning board hereby approves the site plans prepared by Insight Engineering dated March 21st, 2025, last revised October 21st, 2025. These are the approved site plans, and authorize the chairman to sign them upon the fulfillment of the following conditions: satisfaction of any remaining comments from the planning board's engineer, submission of permits from the Dutchess County Department of Health and the Town of Armenia Highway Department, and proof of payment of all outstanding invoices. Be it further resolved that upon the signing of the approved site plans, the Town of Armenia Code Enforcement Officer may issue any building permits or other approvals required for the project. Be it further resolved that in accordance with the town zoning law, the site plan approval shall expire if the applicants fail to commence the construction or obtain the necessary building permits, or fail to comply with the condition of the site plan approval within 18 months of its issuance. The planning board may grant a one-time 6-month extension. This site plan approval may be revoked if the applicants violate the site plan approval or its conditions, or engage in any construction or alteration not authorized by the site plan approval, violation of the site plan approval, or its conditions shall be deemed a violation of the zoning law and shall be subject to enforcement action. Be it further resolved that a copy of this shall be filed in the office of the town clerk within 5 days, and shall also be sent to the applicant within the same day, 5-day period. And finally, be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Adopted the foregoing resolution was moved by, the motion,
I move we accept it as amended.
need a second?
Second.
Duly voted on. Julie, you want to read it off, please?
We'll circulate the revised language.
Yes, please.
Okay, Robert Boyle Jr., chairperson.
Yes.
Nina Peak, deputy chairperson.
Yes.
Lizette Fuller.
Yes, with the amendment, including my name. Thank you.
James Wallace.
Yes, I got that up.
Walter Dietrich.
Yes.
Ken Topolsky.
Yes.
Jamie McGill.
Yes.
Continuing on with the regular meeting, Cumberland Farms, when it was up, step up and play, you're welcome. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you, it's been a bit.
Yes, it has.
All right, nice to see everyone. For the record, I'm Karen Majanowski with Bowler Engineering on behalf of Cumberland Farms. And it was February that I was last here. To do. So as a refresher, this is the existing Cumberland Farms on East Main Street, and we're simply looking to replace the existing septic system with a new and better septic system. So it's generally going to be in the same location, and we're proposing new tanks and a pump chamber for the project, and placing a little bit of fill to raise it up and essentially create a bed for the new and improved septic system. As a reminder, we've worked with Dutchess County Health on this. They're ready to approve it after the town does. So we've gone through all the technical reviews with them. Wetland delineations, bog turtle investigations. We've added a very lengthy set of bog turtle notes to our plans that describe when construction can occur and what measures are in place to monitor that as needed depending on the time of year. And I think the biggest item out of the last meeting was to do the flood analysis, which has been completed, to make sure that there will be no negative impacts, which the study did find there will be none. So we don't believe there are any issues there. All of that's been submitted to the town. So we've come a long way with everything else that we've needed, and hopefully we can come to a resolution this evening. Thank you.
We'll see. John?
Okay, I do have a review memo. It's dated November 5th. I'm not going to repeat, but there are a couple things that, just for the record, this project was the subject of a site plan resolution, Resolution 8 of 2013. And with conditions, there were two conditions: a New York State DEC wetland permit, which they did get back then, and issuance of a floodplain development permit, which they did get back then. As the young lady indicated, they're repairing a septic system, and as a consequence, they're undertaking more improvements within the floodplain, and very close to what is defined as the floodway on this site. It is a type 2 action under seeker. They spent a lot of time with DEC. They did update the wetland boundaries. DEC issued a email which said, basically validated that, but they also said it looks like you're going to need a permit. So I think you guys were working toward getting a permit.
We are, and we resubmitted to them last week.
Okay, so it's going to need a New York State DEC wetland permit. They also, as the young lady indicated, raised the issue of bog turtle impacts, and they've expanded their presentation to deal with the issue, possible bog turtle issues. And the DEC permit may, in this case, also contain an incidental taking permit, which is often done when you got bog turtles. They'll say, you know, there's no practical alternative, and so as long as you follow.
What kind of permit?
It's called an incidental taking permit. Again, they did submit a technical evaluation. Basically, floodplain analysis builds on what's in the record, and the analysis does indicate that the proposed improvements would not have the effect of increasing the water level during the 100-year storm event or within the floodway. And they used, we take no exception to the methodology that they employed. They basically mirrored how the flood study was done. They added some additional cross sections, and they will still need a floodplain development permit, but typically speaking, they finish this process, and then Mike and I work together to issue the floodplain development permit after they have your approval. The young lady is correct. Dutchess County Health Department waiting for you folks. We did submit this application to Dutchess County Planning. We did get a response back in March, and it indicates the project is to be a matter of local concern with no comments. In reviewing the record, there was also, back in the last time this was here, the board talked about landscaping along the Route 343 frontage between the grass canopy and Route 343. It doesn't appear the landscaping was ever done, and so my recommendation to you is that any new approval, if and when you should consider one, should include a similar landscaping requirement with a time frame for installation of the plantings and a maintenance guarantee.
Makes sense.
And also, I indicated when I had sent my email back to your associate that I sent some pictures of some minor flooding that was going on. You might want to take a look at that. It might just mean, you know, you have to change the pavement in that area.
Sure.
But it's the same area you're working. I know some people noticed that during some of the heavier rains earlier this year, there was some minor flooding on one corner of the parking lot.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
but other than that, Mr. Chair, there's
Okay.
not much you can do.
No, we gotta fix the septic. Any comment?
I really don't. I think in terms of the next step, as you pointed out in your memo, there's no need for a hearing. It's a minor project. If the board is so disposed, we could draft a resolution of approval for the next meeting.
I think a recommendation that we do the resolution, because they have to fix the septic, let's be real here.
Yes.
It's a no-brainer.
I have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
So last time when you were in front of the board, I was on the board, I think Jim was also the first time around. And I note also John's comment about the landscaping on the 343 side, but there was also a lot of discussion about the runoff on the westerly side towards the stream. This condition of the fence, there's like an old chain link fence there that's in terrible condition. Lots of garbage, lots of debris, and all of that runs off into the stream, which, as I recall, is a Class C.
I think it is, yes.
So, and given also that the newer correspondence with DEC talks about bog turtle habitat, I think it's, it's the right time for you guys to kind of take a look at the conditions of the approval last time around and try to figure out a better way to manage that stormwater, both the pooling and the runoff and the garbage and the debris and the fence and the landscaping, as part of any resolution of approval that is issued by this board.
Okay, we can look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So basically, you have to come back when we have the resolution,
It's not possible to act tonight.
yeah? You have one drawn up, correct?
We have to,
We don't have one drawn up, no.
no.
No, it's not
So,
possible.
the custom and practices, they would authorize draft resolution. It would be on for next meeting. Anything you can address in the meantime to take off as a condition would be much appreciated.
Sounds good.
So we say that, but you would be on, if they authorize tonight preparation of a resolution, you would be on next month, guaranteed for that resolution.
And
Okay.
I would think, given the comments, that anything you all could submit that addresses those comments specifically that we could build into the resolution, that would be very helpful.
And then there'll be less conditions.
Yes.
Right?
There you go.
That's always a good thing, Emily.
Yes.
The DEC permit is likely going to be a condition.
Understood. Yeah, that was resubmitted. We'll see where we'll be in a month,
Yeah,
but
yeah, right.
understood.
So we need to authorize them to draw up a resolution.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize Paul and John to draw up a resolution.
Very good.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so carries then. So
Thank you.
that's what we need to do, okay?
Yes, we'll see you next month.
Okay, Cascade Creek subdivision, 34 Cascade Road, 30 lot. subdivision. Peter?
Hello, everyone.
That's all you, man.
All right.
Oh,
Ready to go?
You're up.
All right. Hello again, everyone. Peter Sander, representing HRH. We have Mary Ling. We're all familiar, but I'm just going to give a quick recap of the project, which is it is a 28 residential lot subdivision to provide workforce housing in the town of Amenia. The project parcel is 24 acres within the suburban residential zoning district. The application, it proposes a 28 residential lot plus 2 homeowner association parcels, which will contain the conservation easements that are preserving over 59% of the project site, which, if you read the subdivision code, only 50% preservation is required. There's also a Phase 2 community garden proposed, which, once the lots get constructed, our intention is to come back for site plan approval for the implementation of a community garden, which can be used by subdivision residents and Town of Amenia community members. One thing to note about the site is that it was studied for substantial high-density development through the Amenia Hamlet Plan, which is that pretty picture I have on the floor. And this plan, adopted in 2007, outlined that the site could support 38 single-family residential lots, in addition to 7 multifamily residential units. So that's 45 residential units, plus and minus the additional multifamily housing. Several comments we received at the planning board from the planning board consultants and from planning board member Ken. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to address those earlier, but I did provide the board a letter tonight outlining the location of this information. So I just wanted to touch base on that a little bit. The letter offers no new information whatsoever. The letter only goes through and reads through John Andrews' comments and Ken's comments and directs the reader to where those answers are located in the seeker submission package that we submitted back in early September. I did just want to touch base on a couple of those points, just so I have it on the record that they're addressed. Some of John's comments included asking for additional information regarding easements, and that's stormwater conveyance, stormwater access, things of that nature. That's something that we obviously will be addressing, but we want to progress it to the preliminary and final subdivision application. So that's typical that these easements are then later outlined as we progress the application. John also mentioned the implementation of pedestrian access. We haven't received any comments from the seeker circulation from either Dutchess County Planning, DOT, none of that information. But I wanted to touch base that the reason we're not providing pedestrian accommodations such as sidewalks is that they do provide a substantial cost for construction. Being that the applicant is trying to provide workforce housing within a limited pool of money, any additional infrastructure we provide it increased the cost of construction, which means that there's less cost savings for the people actually building the residences on the lot. Moving on to Ken's comments. First, workforce versus affordable workforce housing. This is workforce housing as defined by the Town of Amenia zoning code. We only use affordable because we want affordable workforce housing. So that is defined as anyone under or making under the 80% AMI, which is the average median income for Dutchess County. So that's, again, if anyone... The area median income. Sorry, thank you. And so that is showing that if you are making below that median income, then you can apply to be selected to develop these lots. So that's something I wanted to clarify.
Clarify.
Yeah, please.
We're developing the lots.
Yes.
The homeowner is not. They're
Yes.
buying completed homes. Okay,
Yep.
they're not developing.
Yeah, but they get to choose the house option from the selection that we have. Another information is whether or not this will be federally funded. The federal government is the federal government. They are what they are. But New York State is providing the money for this development. It's requiring no federal funds whatsoever. If you read through the proposal outline, and it's towards the J section of our appendices, it actually outlines where all the funds are coming from. So I just wanted to touch base on that. Another item is the flood zone, because as we're all aware, Cascade Creek runs along the western border of the property. It's noted by the members of the planning board that occasionally that is flooded. One thing that we wanted to point out is that is actually not a FEMA designated floodplain in any way. They don't identify any hazards. There's a firm map in our appendix that says that. But what we have done is that we've moved development away from the creek so that in the event there is flooding, that does not affect any of the residences or the infrastructure proposed. Another big concern brought up by Ken was the impact to potential bog turtles. So bog turtles are very tiny turtles, about the size of my hand, and they've been identified as having habitat about a half a mile southeast of the site, actually behind the town hall right back there. One thing, so we had a biologist study the site to see if there was any habitat. Because it's a stream and not wetland, the turtles really can't migrate up through that stream just because of the rushing waters. And then the other areas of the site are open fields. That leaves the bog turtle open to predators, such as hawks or coyotes or any of that. There's nowhere for them to hide. So our biologist concluded there is no habitat for bog turtles on the property. And that another thing to note is that the culvert crossing, which is located right at the Cascade Route 22 intersection, actually channels the water, right? So it's collecting this Cascade stream water and channeling it, creating a deep water channel that bog turtles, especially when there's high velocity rains, will not be able to really swim up of. So while there's no migratory habitat on site, it also limits their ability to even get to the site. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then additionally, there was talk of how potential pollutants or stormwater from the site may affect the bog turtles downstream. One thing which we wanted to point out is that the site is going to be covered by a stormwater pollution prevention plan. This requires us to design the site so that, one, there is no increase in the quantity of stormwater leaving the site. We have to maintain pre-development levels of stormwater flowing out. And two, the quality, meaning that that water that it does flow out of the site has to be the same quality of water, meaning that we need to be able to treat that through a series of New York State DEC regulated stormwater practices. So which we've outlined on the plan and plan on implementing as we further develop the application. And then lastly, that just wanted to note that the scale of the site, and we emphasize with your opinion of having a reduced number of lots on the site. Unfortunately, because if we start reducing the number of lots that can be constructed, it reduces the ability of those future homeowners to pay for those infrastructure improvements. Either we provide the community system, which is then maintained by collectively everyone in that subdivision with maintenance costs distributed amongst the majority of the property owners, or what we would have to do is provide individual wells and septics on each of the lot. Not only is that more expensive to construct per lot, it also increases the potential impacts that you have, where now each lot is drawing groundwater through a well. Each lot is dispersing septic waste through the ground. And we understand the health department is in charge of that, right? They won't let pass anything that's not going to meet their regulations. But we believe that consolidating utilities in one spot and then also dispersing those maintenance costs really do benefit the community as a whole. And then one last item is that the fire department provision. So we actually got in touch with the fire department the other day. Chairman Deister over there is allowing us to present the project at their meeting. But one of the things I wanted to kind of bring up is that this subdivision has been designed to really adhere to fire code. There's no deviations to fire code. We're providing a loop road which allows access via the fire trucks anywhere on the site without having to do a turnaround. Again, residences themselves do not require any sort of firefighting apparatuses, but we've looked into that. And Mary can speak a little more on that, but in general, this meets fire code. And so really there is no other information that we can provide for this application at this time that will make it more robust than we've already have. So with that, I'm going to defer to Mary, who is going to talk to you a little bit about the sprinklers, but I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have so we can move this along. So.
I have a question, Peter. You mentioned that this project is based on a median average income in the area. Have you done a study on any of that? And if you have done a study, what is the median average income in the area?
So it's coming from the median income for Dutchess County?
Oh, I thought we were talking about Amenia, not Dutchess County.
The way the funding works, it goes by metropolitan
So you're gonna have
statistics.
different demographics and different impacts on communities based on the median income of a particular area, correct?
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
You're basing your study on Dutchess County, which includes cities like Poughkeepsie, LaGrange, Arlington. So how can you compare that particular
So are we here for subdivision approval? I mean, I'm not
I'm just asking.
not
you-
understanding what the
you're-
income
you're
level has.
basing- You're telling me that you're basing this affordable housing on the average median income. So you must have an idea of what that is.
I do. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, I would just like to have that documented.
I don't understand the relevance to the subdivision approval.
Well, I do because you're talking about affordable housing.
Okay.
So that isn't relevant.
It's going to be under 80% of the area median income for Dutchess County.
Okay, do you have figures that justify that at this point in time?
I can provide them.
I can touch base a little bit on that. I've looked it up, and the average median income for Dutchess County is approximately $97,000 per household, right? So this, in that situation, right, say it's 100,000.
Hang on.
Yeah.
For a household size of 2, it's $73,500. For a household size of 3, it's $82,700. Household size of 4, it's $91,800. 5 is $99,200. 6 is $106,500.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I believe Amenia was 78,000, and I looked about 6 months ago, and I can give you the source of that. I don't have it with
What is 78,000?
the mean income.
For a household of how many?
I can give you all of that information, just saying. that-
Right, but this isn't just for Amenia residents, right? It's for,
I have a question for Peter, but I could wait till after your presentation. The properties that adjoin this to the, what is it, to the west?
I always gotta do the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Your lots are at the highest point of that piece of property, of the subdivision. You're adding hardscape, you're gonna have water already coming down. Their property's already flood out now, and there's not hardscape. I'm sure they'd be happy to send you pictures, but there's a time whenever it rains where you look back there and you see the flooding. And you know on the other side of 22, you see chickens swimming just down the road.
You can get some
avoid
floaties for
the
them as
water.
well.
Anyway, so I'm just wondering, how do you protect those property holders from getting their property even deeper?
Yeah.
With
No,
hardship?
and this is something we've thought about and have been working to address. So if you read the stormwater drainage report, what we're doing is we're implementing a series of stormwater conveyance swales. Those will then lead to stormwater practices. So this right here is the high point, right? So if you think about it, any water from this point will drop to the low point. Right now, right? That's just how water works.
Exactly.
Right now, that water completely flows unmitigated to the neighboring residents' property. There's nothing stopping it, it's just natural topography funneling it towards those neighboring residents. Through the implementation of swales, we control where that water goes, right? So we have a series of roadside swales that direct it away from the residences to an area at the lowest point of the site, right? So right now, that stormwater may come from the hillside down and blow out some of these residences. Through those swales, that stormwater then gets moved. It has to follow the road, and then it gets consolidated down here, where we have more management practices, and then deposited in the lowest point of the site, where we've designed an infiltration basin. And the whole intention of that is so that that water doesn't leave the site. It gets infiltrated into the ground, recharging the aquifer, and also limiting the amount of flow that the stream gets from those areas. So again, this is something that New York State DEC requires us to do so, and being good neighbors, we're not trying to fight that at all. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Peter, you mentioned that the density, the number of lots is directly related to the offsetting the cost for the public infrastructure. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I mean, there must be some sort of tipping point there where it becomes unaffordable, or it affects the 80% median income, where it affects your essentially the viability of the project, and whether or not there's some flexibility in being able to reduce the number of lots and still pencil this out to make it affordable.
We're at the tipping point.
Yeah, I would say,
28 is the tipping point.
That's the tipping.
and that's why we've studied the parcel for this, right? We've designed it for this because this is what we need to get to an affordable level of communal infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Peter, I'm struggling mentally a little bit because there's some decisions we have to make in terms of approvals that require judgment calls. And the basic premise is the numbers don't work unless you have it at this, at these numbers, at 28 units. But everybody or in many instances, somebody could come before the planning board and say, a project doesn't really work unless I can do things that are not clearly in code or permitted.
We are in code.
The density bonus, for instance, with those things that we've talked about. And so, that it does give food for thought that if that's the reason, everybody can come forward and have a special need in order to be able to have their project be sellable.
Well, I can address that as well, because the reason for the density bonus in a town of Amenia is to promote certain uses and land development patterns that the town of Amenia wants, right? So as of right density, we're allowed up to 20 residential lots. That's not providing any benefit, that's just saying for the applicant, say the applicant wants to make money, they want to make the 20 lots. This is not the intention right now. The applicant is here to provide workforce housing for residents. And so they've used the provisions in the zoning code to demonstrate how we can provide these additional lots that the town of Amenia zoning code, comprehensive plan, hamlet plan, all encourage for this site. So in this situation, you're worried about maybe setting a precedent for some other developer. This is not the case because this subdivision is specifically designed for workforce housing. And there will be provisions with the deeds of each of these residents to make sure that it is workforce housing. There's no ability for the property owners to make a profit from these lots. They have to be used for workforce housing. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it does,
Yes, generally. Yeah.
This might be a little bit off topic, and if it is, stop me at any point.
Okay, good.
We're gonna get 28 new taxpayers from this. If the town of Amenia was so moved to come up with a number of houses reduced from 28, recognizing that they're still gonna get, let's say 15, which is a number I've heard floating. So if you lose 13 houses, how much how much money do you need to be made whole to make, I know economies of scale, we're reducing the economies, but we're picking up 15 new taxpayers, and maybe there's a way to discuss coming up with an incentive from the town. It's gonna take a little more time, but it might be the way where everyone wins. Now, that, I don't know if I've articulated in a way that makes sense, but you understand the principle that I'm saying.
Yeah.
We don't want you to develop, you're not in the business of losing money and denying people in other areas housing. We want to have affordable housing. It's just the scale seems to be what is concerning. So if we could find a way to offset the economy of scale through a tax incentive is that something, I would be curious what that number is, just throwing that out there.
I mean, this is something we can explore, but.
Well, I'm confused what you mean by a tax incentive. For who?
For the developer. I mean, it would come from the future revenues. And this is something that, we have to discuss a little deeper, but I'm looking that we're getting increased revenue. If there were a way we could come up with a project that was acceptable in terms of scale for the neighbors and the neighborhood, and still make it so you're not losing money.
But I don't think they're losing money. I think the point was they're saying that the homeowner doesn't now divide the cost of maintaining the subdivision, and it becomes too onerous a cost for the homeowner in the future. Is that what you were?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like say monthly, making these figures off top of my head. Say the monthly maintenance cost is $1,000. Divided by 10, that's $100 each. We cut those lots now to half, it's $200 each. And this is over the lifespan of this system, monthly payments. And I'm sure if the town of Amenia wants to provide HRH a large lump sum of money that will offset infrastructure costs and a significant portion, because we all know how expensive everything is, I'm sure they'll consider it. But what the drawback is on this, and it's fundamentally against what HRH stands for, is to provide, I'm going to use the term, affordable residences for as many people as possible. Because we all know that New York State has a deficiency in housing. It's just a fact, right? And so if we start cutting back units that we know the site can support, it really just goes to detriment town of Amenia. New York State.
It's not just Academy, because this is not just Amelia residents who are eligible for the housing.
Well, all these people
So
luckily
it's people
become
from
Amelia
anywhere,
residences.
you know, who are, so I just, you know.
Yeah, but we all
Just,
I get that.
yeah.
But they all are going to become Amelia residents, right?
Well-
We all want a good neighbor to have a barbecue with, or to have your kids play with one another, right? Gives you more opportunities to do so.
So if we could just talk about the fire suppression system?
Please.
So we did contact, as I said last month, Simplex Homes, who's our modular builder, to talk about the, do you have the,
I believe it's the R13 residential system.
and it adds a cost of $12,000 per home, so it is cost prohibitive. It puts it out of affordability for people under 80%.
Affordability, or is it life safety? That's what you're gonna play, apples and oranges here, you know what I'm saying? I know it's not New York State Building Code, I understand that, but it's a life safety, our residents of the town of Amenia. That's just my opinion.
I understand, but if we added $12,000 per home,
I understand that.
then the project is dead.
I get that point. I understand that point. I understand that, but think about not being sprinkled and the place catches fire. That's my point. It's a new construction. I don't know. I'm just one person on the board. I can't make the decision, but.
I'd like to
This
jump
might-
in here
Go
too
ahead.
on that, not on that point, but on health and safety. Well, one, I don't quite understand this secret full environmental assessment. Sorry, I've been really busy lately. It says 23 vehicles. Oh, no, this is trips. So you're saying 28 homes, and you're thinking one vehicle per home.
So what you're referring to is the average peak hour vehicle.
Yeah, I
trips.
know.
Yeah.
But
It's
you're
not
saying
us.
that there's
It's
gonna be
a
one vehicle
study.
per home, right?
No. So this is the study based for residential.
Uh-huh.
They estimate what. So the idea is, right, when they study this, they say the peak hour that people are leaving their house, say 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Based off the study of available single-family residential units, they calculate a multiplier that's your average number of trips for that use. So what it's saying is, it's not saying that there's going to be one car per residence, which honestly could be anticipated with a lot this size. But, so whatever it is, New York State Seeker requires 100 vehicle hour peak hour trips, right? So even if we say each lot had 3 cars.
No, we're not going to say that.
We're not going to say that.
No.
Okay,
No,
we're not
don't
gonna say-
even,
Okay,
it's
Peter-
fine.
There is no, if I may,
If
there
I-
is no direct correlation between the number of cars and your peak hour trip.
I understand
Your
that.
peak hour trip is based on a multiplier, based on the number of housing units, so on and so forth.
And I think it's outdated because I live on 22, and what is now happening in this town is a hell of a lot more traffic.
Yeah,
All the time. So
But-
you have, I understand what it's saying, and I'm just asked the question. I put it out there, you answered it, fine. Now we'll go on to more importantly, You want no sidewalks because it's too expensive. So you're going to have,
It's not necessary either.
can I finish, please?
Sure, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
You're going to have families with children. We just had Halloween. This is a tight, they're going to be running around in the dark on streets. No streetlights, no sidewalks, and when they have to, mom says go to Freshtown, there's no way to get across 22. Safety is my major concern. I think HRH is doing a wonderful, admirable job, but fire, people, the first time someone dies, you're going to get sued. Okay? Period. I'm done.
I just want to add one thing to that, and this came out of the Engage Amenia Comprehensive Plan Review. And this is the comments based on the comments that we received from the community. Goal, install new sidewalks, pedestrian crosswalks, and on-street bicycle lanes for pedestrianization throughout the town. There was also in 2000, I don't recall the date, early 2000s, there was the Dover, Millerton, Amenia traffic plan. And when it mentioned Amenia, it talked about sidewalks from Fudgies to Maplebrook. And that was also in the comprehensive plan. So I suggest you reconsider, since that is the wants of the community.
The other thought that I have is, if we have a community of this size, we're right across from a shopping plaza. Have there been any consideration of a crossing or creating a crossing that's going to be safe to participants of this proposed development? Because we're talking about families probably with children, number one, and if there is a need for going into a plaza, what kind of considerations are being made to ensure that there's safety crossing over Route 22, since we've just noted that the traffic has been increased, and I agree, it has. So,
I would assume most people would take their car. They leave the house, they're going somewhere, they stop at the store. They come back, they stop at the store. Huh?
can't make that assumption that they're gonna take their car across the street.
Yeah, I don't believe there's any actual sidewalks for us to connect to either on the other side, right? It's completely just grass and property owners and that commercial lot. So there's really nothing for us to even connect to. Even if we did provide a crosswalk, there's nowhere that links up on the adjacent property for them to go to.
Yeah, but that, I mean, we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
That seems a little disingenuous, right? I mean, if the goal of the town over time is to create more pedestrian access throughout, then I think it does behoove the planning board to get ahead of that, and when new developments come online, that those facilities are provided as part of that. I get it.
So how does Food Town participate in that?
How does Freshtown?
Freshtown, sorry.
Plaza, you know, are we gonna require them, they don't have a site plan in front of this planning board, A. B, I think, you know, there's an opportunity here for you guys to sort of talk to DOT and figure out whether or not there's an opportunity to create a striped crosswalk somewhere in the area, sort of getting ahead of whatever development is gonna be there. I just asked the chairman, there is a crosswalk, striped crosswalk at Maplebrook, just down the road, and so there, it's not like this is not something that DOT would ever consider. And so I think it's the point's well made that there's gonna be a lot of people living here, a lot of kids living here, who are gonna anticipate that they're gonna be running across the street to the plaza, make it safe for them to do so.
Are we discussing seeker tonight? Because these,
You're looking at the wrong,
well,
you're
these,
looking at the wrong man.
these folks have been coming to these meetings for what's going to be happy anniversary next month, 12 months, 1 year together. and they still do not have the opportunity to speak until you get a secret determination. What is it that you need to make a secret determination?
It's up to the board.
I don't see why we aren't going through the
I
analysis.
I just wanna
That's on
highlight
the
that-
agenda.
Just
To-
let them
to-
answer the question.
To be blunt, it's a determination of the board. Those of us that work for the board have put together what we believe to be a comprehensive analysis for the board's consideration. I think we're getting sidetracked on some of the design issues that, and to be honest with you, there's a bunch of issues associated with it, but Paul and myself came prepared tonight to go through, we submitted it to you a while ago, and we're prepared to go through it line by line if you wish, but it's up to you folks. I do
Yeah.
not vote.
I
I'm
understand
grunt
that.
labor. And,
I'm just unclear what you need to make a secret determination, and we,
well, in order to make a secret determination, ma'am, they have to do their part two analysis.
no, I understand. What you need, I'm sorry, what you need from us.
The only thing that we identified needing from you would be a short expansion on your phasing program.
Okay.
And what was the other one? I think the other one was the fire district matter.
That's correct.
And,
You guys are gonna
and
be
I
there.
think, I think to be blunt with you, it's more, I don't think the chairman's necessarily looking at sprinklers in houses. I think he's looking at the overall fire protection safety system for the entire site, whether there are, whether you create a draft hydrant for your storage tanks. They're design issues, but what we want is that it's not being mistaken. And other than that, ma'am, I have been through that 88-page document probably several hundred times. And the information exists. It's just, it depends on what this board wants to do with it. And like I said, Paul and I have done our work, and I think we've laid it out for them. It's a question, it's up to them as how they want to proceed.
Yeah, and I do think it's worthy, I think we've talked about the sidewalk issue. I think it's worthy of at least inquiring with New York State DOT, because that goes to transportation safety, which also includes pedestrians, and that is a seeker issue. So I think that is something that you should close out on. You know, and DOT may very well say, no, it's not happening here, because it would be a crossing to nowhere. You know, I mean.
But to the point, if you see as you enter town from 44, they're putting in sidewalks where they never existed before. I think they're doing that by means of a grant.
Yes.
So from time to time, the town does
Right.
seek, and if you're building a subdivision and you put a landing spot on your side, and the
That's
town
right.
goes and gets money for a landing spot on the other side, all of a sudden, a non-sidewalk becomes a reality and a sidewalk.
That's
But I think to Paul's point, none of us can decide what's gonna happen on Route 22 because we're not the state of New York. So I think what the board is suggesting is in your discussions and your approach with the state, who is also gonna be involved, which unfortunately you can't get to till we get seeker a little farther along.
But you also might go to the Freshtown Corporation and speak to them and say, here, we're going to have 28 new homes, and they're going to want to go to your stores. And they're very good people that help with this town quite often, and maybe they'll help you. You know, there's ways to do this.
But to your point, I think we're just looking at, down the road, that's going to be a subdivision issue. But right now, under seeker, I think other than the fire, the phasing, and now the sidewalks, I think everything else is in the documents.
Paul, you good with it?
I tend to agree. I mean, what
Okay.
the board does need to do tonight is to do a simple resolution establishing yourself as the seeker lead agency. Because the 30
we do it
days
last
has
month?
passed and it's appropriate for you to make that resolution. As John indicated, we're prepared to go further into the FEAF Part 2 and the analysis we did. We can do that tonight, or whatever the pleasure of the board is. If that's something you
All right.
prefer to wait until December to do, we can do it then.
And
But I will say that seeker does, the seeker regulations does ask of a lead agency that you make your seeker determination at the earliest possible point. We do feel that there is substantial information in the record upon which to make a secret determination. These seeker issues that we're talking about, whether it's the fire, the sidewalks, or the phasing, all of that, seeker doesn't go away just because you make a determination. You still have some responsibilities to provide that information as you go along.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's your pleasure? Do you want to move forward with this, with the
Yes.
secret process or not?
I'd like to make a motion
Go
that
ahead.
the planning board declare ourselves lead agency for the purposes of the environmental review for Cascade Creek subdivision.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so carries. Okay. You did it already. Last one.
Now, if you want to go through this, I did bring extra copies tonight in case you did not have them, and I would be willing to hand them out if you want to go through it.
Are we going through it?
Sure.
Yes, I think we should too.
I have to leave for a minute, but you guys can start.
You can take one and pass it down. There's two, they go together.
More?
Yeah, I should get it up, I'm
They
sorry.
go together. You listen to direction.
Do you have more?
I
Did
do.
he pass it?
Well, one's for everyone.
Oh, well, she said to pass it along.
Thank you.
Guess you get it. There we go. Pass it along.
Yes.
I listen to direction.
Mr. Chairman, I need to get up. And surgery on one.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, let's get better.
I had to keep this.
No, that's okay.
Because it's one thing, these are gonna have
developed
developed these plans, right?
progress.
No, no.
They didn't just ask a single family home, they had a split.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And this guy with his,
Yes, that'd be nice.
this guy with the foot. Gonna be seriously hurt.
Well, this was. Oh, you can't.
Pass it along. We listen to direction.
Hey, Paul?
Well,
No, I never would have. Judy does.
Thank you.
But that's my fault. Okay, sorry. I'll get you.
This first.
Go ahead, John.
So what you have there, it's a two-part exercise. We did prepare an updated part 2. And you have it, we filled it out
Yep.
in its entirety. And then we prepared basically an internal analysis. We tried to take the answers and give, and to Peter's point, we went a little farther and kind of pulled them out of that document and tried to consolidate them here so you didn't have to go searching. So basically, and I'm going to reach the punchline because I know it's going to drive everybody nuts, but unfortunately, when you go through this, we were unable to identify any potential significant adverse impacts. Unfortunately, when you look at all the documentation, the answers are there, and there are no potentially adverse impacts. And I know that may not set well with folks, but if you look at the seeker guidance, if you go through the handbook, you go through all the backup documentation, unfortunately, that's the conclusion you reach. I don't vote, and I say that with all seriousness. But the objective analysis of going through this, which is what you're required to do, leads you to that conclusion. Now, to Walter's point, there is a perception your community is growing. Traffic is one of those phantom issues. Traffic is unfortunately a numeric issue. And if you don't hit the numbers, the guidance is there's not an impact. We all know that's not true, but the reality is that's how the system is set up. So I can go through this line, item by item, or I can summarize and because most of the impact, there are no moderate to large impacts, I don't think that we identified. I take that back, there is. There are a couple.
A few.
The agriculture was one, and
John, a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Are we saying that this does not involve construction, it continues for more than 1 year or multiple phases, because this is just a subdivision right now?
No, it will, if you read the documentation, that's what I just asked Peter for. The project is proposed in two construction phases. Construction phase one would be basically the infrastructure, the road, the water, sewer, and then they would build the houses. And the houses would be, they're almost a phase themselves. I don't think they're gonna put them all up the first year. They'll probably do 50% 1 year, 50% the next year, perhaps, or over 5 years, I'm not sure. But that's what we needed a further explanation of in terms of that. So it is going to be a phase project. It is going to occupy multiple years. The initial estimate, I think, was 2 years for infrastructure.
My question is only, so that is something that needs to get modified in
That's, but if you look at this check mark, it's a small to moderate impact. That's a normal course of events. If you look at a project, take Silo. Silo was supposed to be a 10-year build out. I think they're longer than 10 years now. So, you know, it happens. But you need a discussion of that. And the fact that it extends is not necessarily a negative impact. Matter of fact, oftentimes extending constructions lessens impacts. I think,
well, to the traffic point, it puts construction vehicles in and out
Right.
of the major thoroughfare in the town
Yep.
for multiple years.
Yep. So, but I mean, you know, we can go through this. What's your pleasure, folks?
I have a question. I mean, you spoke about how basically it is what it is, whether we like it or not. But I have a question. I mean, it is what it is based on the data we've received that the engineering firms and you reviewed.
As has Paul.
Right. And I'll just use an example. The impact on the land, the very first 1A. Now, I live maybe 3,000 feet, just short of a mile above this area. I have two ponds. One's 2.5 acres and one surface area is about, let's see, it's 20 by 10. They start the summer, they're pretty high. They are empty, one of them's empty now, and one of them has dropped 20 feet. The water table can't be a constant. I mean, so you're looking at it at one time in the year, you're taking a snapshot in time. And so
Well,
maybe this is
you
something a
are-
hydrologist would understand. I'm just going by observation.
How do I answer this? Yes, your testing is a snapshot in time. You are doing a test. You're typically doing it during a period of time when the water table would be at its average, one would say. When you do these tests, there are reasons to do these tests. I've done enough of them. You can tell where the water table ends and goes up and down. You can tell by soil color, soil modeling. You can tell all sorts of things. And so while it is a snapshot in time, it is what the industry uses. For instance, we'll take the septic systems. In order to have a septic system, you need a specific clearance between the bottom of the trench and groundwater. So typically that means you need to dig a hole minimum 7'6" or until you hit rock or water. The health department witnesses it, everybody witnesses it. You catalog the soils, you catalog the changes in soils, and you make reasonable judgments. And you design your system based on what you observe. And so perhaps it's not as precise as you would like, but it is relatively accurate. They actually they had WSP do a hydrogeologic analysis. They put in a couple monitoring wells. What they did is they would dig down until they hit the water table, and they would put a pipe in and they would monitor how the water table goes in that pipe. And it does fluctuate, but it's not a major fluctuation. I forget what the numbers are because there was so many, but they did do that, to your point. So someone has looked at that. And the numbers that came in their analysis are reasonable. They're consistent with what they observed in the soil notes, and they've been witnessed by these folks, the hydrogeologist, WSP, and the Dutchess County Health Department. So, and it's generally there's enough conservative elements in a design that you take into account. Now, a pond is a different beast, depends how it's fed, depends how it's, and that may not mirror the water table. You know, you can go 100 feet uphill of a pond and not hit water at all. You can go, I have a friend who built a house on top of a hill, and they lost the rear wall of their foundation because of groundwater. So groundwater is an unpredictable thing, but it is what it is. But you have to, at some point in time, use the observations that you have and draw reasonable conclusions. Myself, looking at their data, it all makes sense. It's internally consistent, and it's.
I'll take yes for an answer.
Okay, sorry. I could speak all day long on some of these things. I've spent a lot of time reading this stuff.
No, I know. I just want to, in my head, understand, okay, that's, or I mean, no for an answer in this case.
All right, continue on.
So, I mean, there is an impact on land, but we did not identify any significant adverse impacts. We do need some further discussions on the construction continues for more than 1 year or multiple phases.
Right. And that's potential construction impacts related to noise, traffic, just the dust control. I think addressing some of that at least at the higher level at this point by the applicant would be helpful to the board in terms of evaluating the potential for impacts.
There are no impacts, moving along, there are no impacts on geological features. Impacts on surface water, the answer is yes. There was some talk about creating ponds. That's never been fleshed out, but it would have a small and moderate impact. They're not increasing any body of water. They're not dredging any materials from a wetland. They are not constructing near a wetland. They're constructing near a stream.
They're having a meeting before your street.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
You know, they're not taking any surface water. They're using wells. They're not discharging anything to the stream. They very clearly have done a lot of homework with regards to their stormwater pollution prevention plan. And because they are disturbing more than an acre, they will have to have post-construction management facilities in place. And it's presumed a properly implemented SWIP will provide the necessary protections for water quantity and water quality, so as not to impact downstream properties with either. The lucky part of this site, if you look at their testing, this site is a primary site for infiltration. So that means that a lot of their water stays on site, gets infiltrated, and doesn't add downstream. Now, we're probably going to ask for them to look at some of the downstream stuff as this evolves, but for the most part, it's presumed that if they meet the standards, which they show they can meet, they're not going to have a downstream impact. So, moving along, the impact on groundwater, they did do a fairly detailed recharge analysis. They did a hydrogeologic analysis. Basically, they are withdrawing water for wells for use for consumption, but they're putting it back with a septic system. So it's basically in, out, and there's really no impact. There's sufficient recharge, particularly since they have a lot of green space. So there's no significant impacts there. Impact on flooding, I did see the pictures, I did look at it. Peter is right, there is no defined floodplain on here, but there are impacts that I think Freshtown suffers quite a bit. And what you'll find is if they're doing their job, it won't have an impact downstream. That's what the SWIP is for.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. There's no guarantees in this world, but if you do the best you can. Now, they may have to oversize some things. They may have to, oftentimes what you'll find is if you detain water and you let it out at a controlled rate, for instance, you might hit a peak downstream, which makes something downstream worse. So they may have to do some fine tuning of their design, but for the most part, a properly implemented SWIP, according to the guidelines, you check it.
And I think what you described, your swales that are going down, great. But we get some biblical rains every once in a while. I've got plenty of leaves if anyone needs them. I'm happy to give them, but those leaves, basically, they get stuck in the swale and no one's cleaning anything up. The neighbors are still going to experience flooding. I mean, and I really am concerned, how do we really, in that case, are they going to be oversized? I mean, I'll voice my concern.
Understood.
That I'd like to see a little more
And
precaution.
the SWIPs outline regular maintenance plans. That's part of the SWIP document, is the regular maintenance of these practices. And because this is administered by the HOA, they're in charge of maintaining those practices.
Well,
And
now,
so-
I'm gonna
Okay.
slightly disagree. I'm gonna slightly disagree with Peter, because I think the proposal is this is going to become a town road, so that the maintenance of the roads and the swales is actually gonna fall upon the town highway department. So we are going to have to fine tune it, because you can't add an additional burden on the town highway department. So, you know, there are issues that have to be fine tuned, but that would be a subdivision design issue as we go forward. Impacts on,
Question for you.
yes, sir.
How's this become a town road? That's the question, I guess.
Well, the way it's been proposed so far, they're proposing, unless I'm reading your documents incorrectly, to offer this in dedication to the town road, in dedication to the town. There's an irrevocable offer of cession, there's going to have to be an acceptance, there's all sorts of things, but basically, they have to fully construct the road in full compliance with town set standards, and then, providing that's done, and everybody signs off on it, the town can take it if it wishes, Mr. Chair.
That's okay.
Okay? So, and again, that's one of those things that comes out in the subdivision process. Impacts on air, there basically are none. Impacts on plants and animals, this is an actively farmed field, so there's not many impacts on plants. However, it is, as Peter's indicated, within the bog turtle range.
Can I go back to that town road point? At what point does the town decide to take it or not take it, before or after it's constructed?
The town is under no obligation to take a road unless and until it is fully constructed and is in complete conformance with town standards. And usually towns, once they get notice of 100% completion, they wait for a year. And then, providing there's no major flaws or defects, they take the road over it. But it requires an affirmative action of the town board. And to your point, I have been in circumstances where towns have not taken over roads.
So, may I just make a comment that this is a conversation we had with the town before, in the really pre-development process. So the discussion came up from the town of what will happen with this road. Obviously, we're building, so this isn't something we're just like throwing in the plan and the town knows nothing about it. I mean, just so you.
Discussion with
Would it be Megan, Town Highway?
It was, I think it was the town highway department.
And who accepts the road? The town board?
The town board, it requires an official action of the town board.
And is this another item where if the town doesn't accept the road, it throws the financial picture, because you have to repave that road, occasionally you have to plow that road, that it throws the financial model into disarray?
It shouldn't.
the HOA becomes responsible for all of that?
Yep.
So that's-
Okay, moving on, impacts on plants and animals, we were talking about the bog turtle. They did a habitat analysis, there is no habitat, and to Peter's point, their biologists did look, and there's really no connectivity, so one would not expect to see a bog turtle here, but I think they actually, in their documents, limited construction period and clearing periods to if there would be. But that the likelihood is small. Impact on agricultural resources, I checked yes, as this has been up to now an actually farmed piece of property. Pardon my French, I'm getting tired. And this is an area where I did identify a couple moderate to large impacts because the soils are so significant. So this is basically reasonable soil, and they are irreversibly converting agricultural land to non-agricultural land. And the property is in the ag district, and they are irreversibly converting more than 2.5 acres. So that automatically throws it into a moderate to large impact. Quite honestly, that doesn't necessarily mean it's negative. They're maintaining better than 50% that they could use, but I don't know how long a small plot like that gets farmed, because it's a relatively inefficient.
Mr. Andrews, I noticed under C, 8C, the box isn't checked, whether it's a no or a yes.
That's my fault. It would be yes. It would be
I
small
would
to
think-
moderate.
I would think so, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I missed it. I apologize.
Moderate to large. Moderate to large.
No, it would be small, because basically, the only place there'd be compacting soils would be within the area they're taking out of it. The open space, they would not be compacting soils. So,
Huh?
number 9, impact on aesthetic resources. I said yes. Now, this site is seen, it's right on 22, you can see it. And you can see it from Cascade Road, I suspect, although lesser
Really?
because of the tree buffer along the stream. But it doesn't appear to be visible from any officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resource. In other words, they did look from the outlook on De La Verne Hill, you can't see the site. So even though you can see it, most of the impacts, I assumed, would be small to moderate. A lot of people around here don't differentiate a small field tucked in away amongst the trees versus a housing development, because there's housing developments around it, again, tucked away within the trees.
Can I just add, and it applies both to the agriculture and to the aesthetic, needs to be kept in mind for seeker review purposes. This land is zoned as suburban residential. It is, by your comprehensive plan, it's an area that for planning purposes is intended to provide for residential development. So that is part of the equation that goes into analyzing the potential impacts as well. You know, it's different when you're looking at rural agricultural or rural residential lands that are intended to be more open space.
Impact on historic and archaeological resources.
Well, I just want to go back. On the frontage, when you're pulling out from Freshtown, from the plaza, and you're looking across the street, you're going to see what?
If you're looking right out from the Freshtown Plaza, what you'll see is, if you can actually see through the vegetative buffer in the DOT right-of-way, would be open fields for our septic system and the stormwater management practice. Now, if you're looking up, you may be able to see past that to some of the residential lots, but that's why they're tucked in, and it's also why we're providing that vegetative buffer that's going to be protected by easement.
So along 22, and I see this every day, and so I'm not wrong, but there are already trees that you're looking through. Are those trees all going to be there, or are you going to be removing them?
Nope, we are not touching those trees.
According to the plan?
Yeah, the majority of those trees are in the DOT right-of-way, which we're not allowed to touch.
Right.
And then the rest of them exist really along the perimeter of the site, which we are putting in a conservation no-cut easement. And that is, again, we did that purposely to maintain that buffer, that vegetative buffer, for both the screening along Route 22 and the adjacent properties.
Okay.
What about the properties that don't have any trees? between the field and there are some that, because I saw them when I was out there knocking on doors.
Well, ultimately, if we preserve this with no-cut easements and a conservation easement, that vegetation is going to grow in over time. Right now, it's an active field, so it gets demolished every planting season, right? Now, that's going to grow into a little bit thicker of a buffer, so.
But you're not proposing putting in any so that these people that are looking out their back window will see all the construction and everything?
I mean, we'll happily assess once we get the public input. If there is someone that seems to be affected by that, we'll explore putting those additional
Thank you.
plantings or, yeah. So that's, we want to get to that process where we're getting those
We're hearing
input.
from the public.
Okay, continuing on, Mr. Chair, impact on historic and archaeological resources. The applicant did do a Phase 1 literature search and sensitivity analysis and a Phase 1B reconnaissance. And basically, OPRHP issued a no impact letter dated December 11th of 2024. And so that supports the finding of minimal impact on archaeological resources. There's no impact on open space and recreation because it's not available for that. It's not in a critical environmental
I just want
area.
to make one comment on that. You're going to have kids presumably living in some of the houses. You got a great culvert, that would be a great place to play. I suggest that you find some kind of gating or you at Cascade Creek so that we don't have to deal with kids going into the under 22. Okay?
That would have been my favorite part.
Just looking back on my childhood.
I know, my whole childhood has been in a river, so I get it.
It'd be great when it rains.
I love it.
This is going to be a controversial one, but unfortunately, impact on transportation. If you go by the seeker guidelines published by the state of New York, the applicant did a traffic impact study. They did a full analysis of the build-out. They did sight lines, a few other things. But for the purposes of identifying the proper response to this question, the seeker handbook guidance states that if the project falls below the numeric threshold, which for a single-family home development is 95 units, the project will not result in a substantial increase in traffic. Sorry, not my words. That is the folks that generated this particular document. That is their guidance.
Yeah, I don't write the news, I only read it. I have a question about that. I think everyone in this town, Walter can speak to this more than I can, but we have noticed a marked increase in traffic. And can we ask for another survey be done? Because in the last year, the traffic has increased dramatically. You now have cars you'll see cars from the light at 22 and 373 up almost to the liquor store.
I think, the issue that you're looking at is whether this project will result in a significant adverse impact to traffic. Not that there isn't a growing background of traffic, or whether, at what level does this become a significant adverse impact in terms of the traffic coming out of the site and traffic going into the site, okay?
You had 56 cars, and you're at the end of a line that's already a half a mile long, and you have to wait for a stoplight to change 4 times. You tell me you're happy sitting there. So I understand, are they going to impact it? They're definitely going to impact it. You add more cars on the road. Adversely, yes, because we already have a situation where it was at a meeting, it was a comprehensive plan meeting, and it was at the last few board meetings. The DOT has had to change the timing of the lights because we're starting to have backups. So there's already a problem, and this will only compound it. I'm asking if we can do.
I guess.
This study was done in May.
Okay.
Yeah, this year. So it does reflect the latest traffic patterns. We did hire Creighton Manning, which is a dedicated traffic engineer, to do the study. They have more experience analyzing traffic flows than I'll have in my lifetime. And they've concluded that we're not going to have a significant impact. So I just wanted to point that out.
And unfortunately,
Go down and count cars.
We can do it together.
unfortunately, the other thing too is this is a DOT issue, and it's gonna have to, when they go file for their permit, if they have not already, DOT's gonna ask for the same stuff, and they didn't respond to our lead agency request, did they?
I don't recall.
No.
Yeah.
So, and basically, I think DOT's following the same principle as the New York State DEC. If you're not above my 100, houses, you're not impacting my network.
They're also looking, they're looking at how it may degrade your intersection performance. How many seconds you have to wait. And I believe the levels of service were.
They were not changed.
Yeah.
The
They're
delays.
not affected by the project.
delays increased by seconds, if I recall properly, not minutes. So,
Well, on the other hand, I'm just looking at that right there, where the driveway goes in, and, what's the road across Gap Road, is it? Whatever.
Which one?
Old North?
It's a potential disaster's gonna happen there. The four-way intersection now, which it never was. That's a potential disaster.
Have you thought about contacting DOT about maybe a light system?
We will
We-
do
we
whatever
will
we
do
need
what-
to do once we start getting the comments.
Because we're talking about people moving in and out of the plaza. Now we're talking about cars coming out of your development, plus the traffic, people doing 65 coming down 22 in a 45-mile-an-hour zone.
It just,
Again, we'll do whatever New York State requires
No,
our
definitely
application
will.
to do
I
so.
get that.
Hmm?
I get that, but I
Yeah.
always look at it the other side of the coin. New York State don't care if there's an auto accident out there, let's be real about it. I look at it, if I gotta let the person out of the car, you're not there, I'm there. So,
so what you all are trying to assess though, certainly there will be impacts. Does it rise to the level of being a significant adverse impact? And the numbers aren't there for that. That's the question. And then even if you were thinking beyond, making that determination, what would be the goal? What more information could be generated through an environmental impact statement that would provide, more? I think the question asking DOT, both on the pedestrian crossing and, opportunity for, a traffic signal, how would you ever get to that level? I've seen this in communities with these huge, large-scale projects, where we're sending out hundreds of trucks onto the road. And DOT has a pretty high threshold before it's going to put in a traffic light.
I didn't even say the traffic, I'm just,
But
caution light or something.
Right.
Is that one way going, or is it two-way traffic in it?
a lot of the issues
This is gonna be two-way.
you're identifying and detailing are design-related issues that would come out during the process and during the permit process, but a lot of these folks won't even advance to that until seekers. So,
We're stuck.
the fact of the matter here is, and I said people wouldn't like it, this is what the guidance indicates. You don't have to accept it, but.
And I think they've heard our concerns
Understood.
and everything, but for this purpose, you're correct, that's all.
All right.
But we have many concerns.
Okay, I got it.
You heard it.
There's no to minimal impacts on energy, impact on noise, odor, and light. There's going to be noise during construction. Light impacts from residential developments are typically consistent with surrounding light impacts. I don't think there's an issue there.
Are you planning on putting in streetlights?
No.
No.
Okay.
Was not proposed. Impact on human health, there's no impact on human health. Impact,
Sorry, I take exception to that because of what we've been talking about.
understood.
So, you know, streetlights, maybe you can't do streetlights, you don't wanna put streetlights in because it affects other people, but there's like smaller lights that could go right.
Well,
in front
every
of the
house is gonna have a front light, and there
Okay.
are 28 front
There you
lights.
go.
Mhm.
You answered one of the questions already.
Check.
Okay.
Well, they're gonna have to be on. They're gonna have to figure out some way that they're on when it gets dark.
Could
My
be a
lights go on
requirement
when
of
it
the
gets dark.
HOA.
Perfect.
Impact,
Watch about health.
impact on consistency with community plans and community character.
Maplebrook is more than 1,500 feet.
I think Maplebrook is greater than 1,500 feet away. Basically here, unfortunately, if you look at the existing master plan, you look at the Hamlet plan, this falls below what you guys wanted, and I don't mean you guys. I'm not saying that.
No, I don't.
Yeah, but again, the master plan, it's like the comprehensive
No,
plan.
understood.
Airbnb didn't exist when this town wrote the
Understood,
comprehensive plan.
understood. But
So-
for the purposes of a seeker analysis, it doesn't rise to the level of significant potential adverse impact. The last one is disadvantaged community. I'll let Paul discuss that. That's a little out of my ballpark.
No, it's the same, I mean, you look at based on the guidance that DEC has out now, they're changing their regulations, they haven't adopted new regulations at this point. But basically, if you identify that there's no other significant adverse impacts, that can stand in the place of saying that there's no impact to a disadvantaged community. In this case, since the goal is workforce housing, arguably it actually provides opportunity for those in a disadvantaged community to find housing that they can actually afford.
I have a question that is not tied to this seeker, but just to educate myself. The buyer of the house can't make a profit on it later, but can they add their capital expenditures to the cost basis of that? So if they need a new roof,
So they can, any capital improvements they would want to do have to be approved by the HOA. You know,
they'll need a boiler, they'll need or whatever it might be, a water heater. Can they add that back to their cost basis so that they can at least recoup?
not regular maintenance, but they will get a CPL bump, right? So they'll get credited back. CPL is, I just got confused. They'll get credited, CPI, they'll get credited
So it
CPI.
is indexed?
Yes,
Okay.
it's indexed.
Okay.
There is a nursery school or daycare center right at the corner
Yep.
of Cascade
Yep.
and 22. That is within 1,500 feet.
Okay.
And I
Across
don't-
the street.
I do not believe
And those
that's
kids are walking
permits.
on the street, I mean, they occasionally take a walk along the street.
Yeah, just to clarify, I checked the property card and I don't believe it actually is a registered use that has been approved, because that would have appeared for the site plan review process for the planning board. So if that's the case, then I don't know if you guys have approved it. I didn't, in my research, did not see any approvals.
And then just out of curiosity, this goes to what Jamie just asked, it's a little, I'm making $80,000 a year. I buy one of the houses, I move in, I'm very happy, and I bring my girlfriend in who's making $150,000 a year.
Nice.
The house becomes quite affordable. And then after a year, I could sell the house and I could make a good profit and all of that. How do we, and
But you
my
can't make a good
understanding from
profit.
the code.
You can't make a
From
good-
the town code is the board of trustees has to administer, or they can designate someone to everything from building and housing improvements. There's a whole host of things that the board of trustees, I'm sorry, the town board is responsible to be the administrator of, as I've read the zoning code, is who's going to be doing that. For instance, I want to sell my house, or I want to put it on the market, there has to be,
Hudson River Housing doing it on behalf of the funder who's providing the subsidiary.
So in the example I
Subsidiary,
gave,
the subsidy.
it's almost,
It's getting late. Oh,
it
cow.
almost borders on being fraudulent if I want to buy something and sell it a year later, and I can walk away. So
You
how do
can't.
I can't, why
You
not?
can't make a profit on it. You can only make an indexed increase.
You'd have to pay back all the subsidies.
Okay.
I just was going to ask Paul if he could, for the audience, if you could explain how this goes, and then about public comment, because a lot of people want to talk, but we know it's not time for talking from the public, but I think they need to know.
Right.
Thank you.
Because it is a subdivision, New York State town law requires planning board to make a seeker determination, which means they need to decide whether there's any potential significant adverse impacts. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be impacts. As you've heard from the board, and even the applicant has acknowledged, and you've heard it from the town's engineer, the project will result in impacts. But are any of those impacts so significant that they require an environmental impact statement? So that's the initial determination the planning board needs to make. Once they make that determination, then the planning board can schedule a public hearing and start the process of gathering public comment on a preliminary subdivision plat. If they decide there's a significant adverse impact, then the applicant would have to do an environmental impact statement, and as part of that process, there would also be a hearing on the project as well. So that's where the board's at. If they based on, and it's entirely up to the board, we're going through it and providing some thoughts in terms of our review of this. But it's entirely up to the
Paul,
board.
do I recall correctly that if we move forward with it as drafted and we later believe we see an impact that's more substantial than was originally drafted, that can be readdressed later?
If new information comes up, yeah, but I think you've got it pretty well from what we've heard from John in the past. The application's pretty well.
I'm not disagreeing.
The simple answer to your question from he who talks too much is yes. If something unforeseen comes up and is uncovered, if DOT takes an adverse possession.
I'm just trying to give people cover that we can move forward.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, we are willing to hear comments and make adjustments. I mean, that's why we've been wanting public hearing.
Can I just ask one quick question as a resident of Cascade?
Not just yet, no. Sorry.
The materials were circulated after the last meeting to the Housing Board, to Dutchess County Planning, for the
Before
GML
that.
239. That's what it says in the minutes, that everything was already circulated.
It was circulated after the September meeting.
Okay, so have we heard anything back from anybody? Because
Not the September, just the last one.
it says it in the meeting minutes from the last session that the board
I just did it.
moved
Oh.
to circulate the materials, and so I'm curious to know,
The simple answer is we have not.
we have
No,
not heard from
nothing.
anyone.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So what's the board's pleasure?
I have
Unfortunately,
a question on, I want to correct something that has been said in the past, that the houses in the neighborhood were on the same size lots as the, what is it? What are yours, a quarter acre?
Yeah, we're just over a quarter
The
acre.
houses in the neighborhood are not quarter acre, they're larger lot sizes.
I,
It was said in the past that it's consistent with the other houses in the neighborhood. It's not consistent. That's just bringing it up because it was said before.
Yep.
All right, here's the question.
So when it comes, with consistency with community character, I would say it is not, the houses are on much smaller lots than the ones in the neighborhood.
if you look around the neighborhood, there are subdivisions
Yeah.
that have equal sized lots.
There are.
I would say to the west of Cascade Creek Road, there's a number of lots that are all between 150 by 150 feet long, wide. Like that's the box, right? It's 150 which equates to about, I think it's 0.3, which is similar size to what we're proposing. So that's why that statement is, there are larger lots, there are smaller lots, but I would say generally being.
Not
in
generally,
suburban
it was
is-
said that it's consistent, and the impression left
We
was
can-
that they're all the same size lots.
I just want to clarify for the purposes of the EAF, is that you have checked both consistent, the question here is, the proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character, and it is checked yes. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans, and and this form is checked yes. So the form is
Which form? Now you got me lost.
Yeah, number 18, page 10.
page 10.
Yeah,
Where's it checked?
so it should be, they should be.
Oh, this is checked here.
So just
But
for
that's- and then
point
we
of
went through by note.
clarification
Yeah.
to Ken's point,
Yep,
that if you're making the point that it's not currently consistent,
Yes.
then the notice, the
This is-
check here is correct.
Correct.
But if you're making the contention that this project is both consistent with community plans and consistent with community character, then the 17 and 18 should be marked no.
Yes.
but
That's
the
correct.
reason he checked yes, so there is some inconsistency, but there's no to minimal impact. That's essentially.
Okay, yeah, I thought I'd done
I
it.
mean, it is, every other question in the form is phrased in the opposite way. These two
No,
It
are
always-
phrased in the negative, so you just need to be clear that, we just all need to be clear that that was your intention.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
That there is some inconsistency, but it's no to minimal impact.
I think we're good. We're all good here now?
Yes.
So the next step, if you wish, is to ponder this further, A, or B, authorize the preparation of a negative declaration for consideration at your next meeting.
And perhaps as part of that, you want to make sure you have answers to some of the questions you raised.
Yep.
You know, I mean, just to get some initial feedback from DOT, possibly, to hear something from the fire department.
we will.
possibly.
DOT fire.
That will happen.
Those-
I'd like to add one,
Yep.
which is, what's the timetable on phase 2? We don't want to have
We
the
can-
houses.
The construction impacts potentially
Right.
too.
When,
Yep.
if
Way less.
it goes ahead, how long will it take before they move on to completing the project?
So what's your pleasure, ladies and gentlemen? Do you want to move forward with this or not? That's the question, I guess, right now.
I'd like to move forward.
Yes.
I'd like to move forward. I mean, we're gonna get to a point where we have to move forward.
Yeah.
And
We're a year now.
and we're
so-
gonna
Yeah.
have to deal with,
And the timelines are getting.
To Paul's point, what we will do is prepare a draft, and we
Okay.
will prepare it based on the information we have.
That's perfectly fine.
Let him, let the applicant provide us with the additional information, and if we need to alter it, we'll alter it, and we'll try to get it to you in advance of the December meeting, like we did this time. I think we got it.
That's fine.
I think we got it to you early enough that it was of value to you, and we will
That
try
will
to do
work.
that.
but to the public, I would point out, moving forward, means moving forward the process that gets you to be able to give your
Voice your
voice.
opinion.
So, you know,
Your
I know
concerns
there's
and so
concern,
forth.
you'll have time to speak and to raise those concerns, but we can't even get to that point.
No, they don't get any approvals, they don't pass go, they don't pass,
Right.
they don't collect the
In the
$200
meantime, I
yet.
just wanted to confirm that all the materials that we have received for this application and for all the applications are available on the website, so if folks want to review them.
496 very interesting
there?
pages.
Very good literature. Read it
Does
myself.
somebody here,
You're
does somebody here from the
historical-
audience want to say,
Still
yes,
there.
they're here, they're available on the
I like
website?
It's a good company.
No idea, okay. So yes, we need to make sure the materials.
This was submitted on September 8th.
And it's up on the website, okay.
And one thing in it, I'm going to say, it, the historical analysis, every resident of Amelia should read it. It is so thorough and so fascinating, and that you did incredibly well. Goes back.
Peter and I wrote it ourselves.
Sure, what about ChatGPT?
We don't use that. We don't use those clankers.
You should, it's great.
So,
We have to verify it then, you know?
We're authorized to do what they need to do, so we'll see you next month.
So right now, it looks like next month we'll get seeker determination, and in January, we can set a public hearing for these fine folks to be able
Hopefully, it all
to.
falls into place.
Okay.
Thank
We'll
you.
We'll have to book
Thank
the
you.
big auditorium. Right, guys? Yeah.
Don't,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Have a good Thanksgiving, okay?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Next up is Silo Ridge Condo 3.
And welcome back, Patrick.
Hello, Patrick.
Well, how's everybody doing this evening?
We're here.
All right, we're here.
It shouldn't be that tough an act.
That's the truth.
Well, I'll try not to keep you here too much longer. How about that?
Go ahead, we're rattling right along, let's go.
We got 3 items that we want to discuss. They're all procedural, so there's no presentations. It's relating to procedural items for projects out there.
We'll see how that goes.
All right, so before I begin on condo D&E, I want to apologize on behalf of Silo, myself, and everybody else. You approved condo D&E. We worked through all seeker issues. We worked through site plan issues. You provided the resolutions. And about 4 weeks after you provided the resolutions, we were notified through the process of the condo offering that the land that was to the south of Condo E had to be subdivided off now before the condo offering, or it was forever lost. So we have a minor change in the subdivision to do to take that off. We're not creating any lots. Judy, does he have the letter that had the sketch in it? I have the thumb drive with me. Okay.
I do,
This?
We do.
yes.
Okay, you have it, okay. So what we're doing is we need to take about an acre of the land where condo D&E is, and we're just transferring it over to one of the SR 14. We're not creating any lots, we're not changing anything, it's just a little piece of land here, change the boundary, put it over here. If we had known that prior, we would have done it as part of the original application. The other change associated with it that we're requesting is for condo D. It was approved for 6 buildings. Condos. Units, thank you. Condos B, C are going to be 8 units. They, at one time, were going to be changed to 6 units, is why we had 6 units for condo D. Now they've been changed, B and C, to 8 units as originally approved. And so we're requesting to get condo D to be changed from 6 to 8 units. The building size isn't changing. Nothing's changing on the site plan whatsoever. Exact same utility connections. They're just taking some of the 6 units, making them smaller, and adding 2 units to it.
Patrick, you gave us a pretty careful analysis of the total number of bedrooms.
Yes.
Does this add to the master plan to the total number of bedrooms?
No, it does
Or
not.
you're going from a 4-bedroom to a 3-bedroom or something like that?
Correct. You take a bedroom off of each of those and you make a new unit out there. So there's no, we're well below the master plan. You know, there's,
And
yeah.
you'll make some, just, this is a curiosity, you'll be some adjustment for parking, because presumably 8 units need more spots than 6 units?
We had more parking than necessary in the original basements over there. So what it does is it ends up taking the ratio from 1.85 to 1.65, and it was a 1-to-1 requirement.
And does it change the total number of front doors of the project, though?
I don't know the answer. I don't know the, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Because the entry coming in, you come in the entry.
No,
and
no,
then-
I'm sorry. I'm talking about actually, like, if it was 245 units, is this now,
It does not change that because we took 13 townhomes,
okay,
right? We eliminated 13 townhomes, we're putting 10 condos there.
okay.
And now what we're requesting so that we can use the exact same building for B, C,
Gotcha.
in D is to make it 8 units as opposed to the 8 smaller units as opposed. So we still traded 13 townhomes.
Right.
And now we're, by asking to change that to 8 units,
we're replacing 13 townhomes with 12 condos.
Gotcha.
The economics, it generates more taxes,
Right.
so it doesn't make any sense rerunning. We've already been through all that. My question is there a way procedurally, I understand we're changing the subdivision plan, and by virtue of doing that, it requires a public hearing. And my question to the planning board is, would it be possible to submit the application? I don't understand why we would have to go back through the seeker process. It's a minor modification to the application. You've already approved seeker. All the infrastructure, everything stays the same. Find it complete, schedule the public hearing, and then write new resolutions. We apologize.
This is a, if I may,
Go ahead.
this is a two-bite apple. Basically, the subdivision, because it's different than what you held a public hearing on, you have to hold the public hearing. We would recommend, suggest that you authorize the conduction of the public hearing at your December meeting. It's a simple change, no new lots, and oftentimes this is not an unusual occurrence, the subdivision. So that's simple. Now, when it comes to the site plan, which is a different approval, separate approval, you do not necessarily need to conduct another public hearing. You can if you wish, but you're adding 2 units, is essentially what you did. And all you would need to do is basically determine that was a de minimis change and authorize us to prepare a resolution for next meeting. So basically what you would do, I mean, you could authorize a public hearing, but nobody spoke at the public hearing.
I know, that's what I was just gonna say. I don't know.
And
That's what you
unfortunately,
need to
when
know.
it comes to a subdivision, it's a procedural application. So, sorry, I gotta make sure I have the right resolution in front of me. You have 2 choices. You could hold another public hearing on site plan, which I would suggest is inappropriate, and just authorize the preparation of a revised resolution to memorialize the 2 additional units.
Personally, I concur with, but anyhow, it's open for discussion amongst the board first. What's your pleasure with this?
I say we conduct the public hearing, prepare whatever resolutions we have to for our December meeting, and go from there.
Need a second onto it?
Judy, do you have time to notice this?
No, we're supposed to have another one, and I haven't noticed that one either, so, because I haven't got the notice yet to do it.
December 10th.
If necessary, for the public hearing, if you can do the resolution for site plan, and you need the other 2 weeks to notice the public. You know, we're trying to do everything right, and so, and make sure nobody's, squashed
If
for
we have the
time.
time, we'll
So the
notice it.
question is, do you have time to notice it if you haven't noticed tomorrow?
Probably.
Yeah, then let's,
Okay.
if
Let's
the
do
board
it.
is so
Okay.
minded.
There was a motion made, we need a second onto it.
I'm sorry, would you repeat the motion? What's the motion?
Go ahead, repeat your motion, Ken.
To
I
conduct a
move that
public
we-
hearing,
And prepare a
authorize the
resolution.
preparation of the resultant resolutions.
Yeah.
On the subdivision.
Subdivision.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need a second onto it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Judy, please note my abstention.
Okay.
All right.
So, you know what you gotta do on that one. So now we're
Very
on
good.
to,
Next easy one.
I don't know if
This should be very easy. Master plan. We introduced the master plan July, August, did the site visit, came back the following meeting, discussed the master plan here at the board, and there were 2 schools of thought on it. There were 2 sections, I'll call it the family barn section, that people thought was a significant impact, and would certainly require a change to an amendment to the master plan as well as a site plan modification. The core condo area, where condos A and F were going, and condo 3.4, the general area, do you have the sketch or? That's not the current,
We don't have that in our package.
you don't have that in your packet.
No.
Okay, it's the master plan. So at that meeting, there seemed to be a general consensus that the core condo area could be handled by simply a site plan modification as opposed to having to modify the master plan. We're moving condos around, things we've been doing traditionally, and it didn't impact the overall unit count. We're still way under the 245 units. But we walked away from the meeting, started engaging engineers, architects to do it, but the board didn't really provide a consensus that evening. And there's a difference between having to do a master plan amendment in conjunction with a site plan modification or doing the site plan modification. Communications are always difficult in getting all the information out there and keeping everybody on the same sheet. So we just wanted to come back and verify, reassure our consultants that we are doing a site plan modification for the core condo area and we're not preparing a master plan amendment.
Patrick, the modifications, the moving around, is all happening inside of the footprint of what was always in the master plan, condominiums or townhouses.
Correct.
It's not repurposing space that was something else, a single-family home space or?
No, there's no repurposing. The closest thing to that is moving, and it's not
You're taking the clubhouse out, right?
taking the clubhouse out, right? That's-
Essentially taking the clubhouse out, which was a clubhouse with condos, and reconfiguring it so that it's now all condos.
Right.
Numbers all stay the same.
And the only other change in that core condo area was condo 3.4, the one that burned down. We're moving it up the hill and then having golf operations in front of it, if everybody remembers through the walk over there. So we're not adding new units. We're kind of taking chess pieces and moving them around to fit best and meet the demand within the community right now, so.
But you are putting in a store at the front and,
Not as part of this, not as part of the core condo. The store was one of the elements that you wanted to look at closely as part of the master plan modification.
so
That-
so your question that you're asking us tonight is the matter that we just discussed doesn't constitute a master development plan
Modification.
It does constitute an MDP modification, or it doesn't? That's the question that's in front of us?
Absolutely, thank
Okay,
you.
it has nothing to do with the remaining master development plan proposals that we talked about when we were on the site visit, or that you presented the last time you were
We
here?
determined at that meeting, in fact, if you could go back to that sketch, that's the perfect sketch right there. It's all in that, the A-series condos over here. That used to be the clubhouse, very big structure, large clubhouse with units in it, being broken down into smaller condo units. Then there's condo F, if you can slide that down a little bit. See condo F, it's a duplex unit up there, right in the core condo area. And then just above there is condo 3.4. That's the replacement location for the one that burned down. So that's just within the core condo area.
Can you go back to the picture again for a second? Or can't?
The condos, you see that dirt parking lot there?
Yeah.
That's right where condos B, C, D, and E are. And then that grass area, if you continue beyond the parking lot, that would be condo F. The A-series condos are down below, a little lower on the graphic there where that white bubble is. So that's just the way, the plan is not the exact same as the site plan that was approved. We're taking the pieces and we're moving around, taking a big piece and making it 3 smaller pieces. The other areas that you were referring to over by the family barn, where there was, I think, 8 units being proposed over there. The store out front, you identified those as being significant impacts and that they were going to require a much greater level of study, both environmentally and from a site plan issue. And at that time, you kind of suggested if we wanted to be moving something in a more expeditious manner, take those 2 projects, put them off to the side, and think about those at a later date because they were going to definitely require an amendment to the master plan. And like I said, we've started on it, but we realize sometimes with communications, sometimes we're not good at necessarily getting it formalized with you. We wanted to come back and make sure we're all on the same piece of paper so that when we submit the site plans, there's nobody saying, well, this isn't what we were thinking about, and also make sure we didn't misunderstand anything along the way, so.
I have a question. I'm sorry. And pardon my ignorance, but have you notified the residents? Are you required to notify the residents? Do they have any consultation? And this is, I'm asking as just behalf of the public.
Yep.
And
they have quarterly meetings at Silo Ridge. And Mike, if you want to add to it a little bit, I mean, because you're at the meetings and I'm not, so you can explain how they are notified?
Hi, guys. So as of Monday of this week,
First state your name so we know who you are.
Mike Clark with Silo Ridge. As of Monday of this week, we communicated our plans for the entire master plan update to the entire Silo Ridge community and went through in every detail with the entire Silo Ridge community is the answer to your question.
Which is, in fairness, Mike, different than saying everyone who was informed of everything you were doing necessarily did or didn't agree with everything that you presented.
Meaning what, Jamie?
Meaning the stuff that he's talking about along the one that he's saying he's deferring to later?
Yes. But that's not what we're discussing.
Exactly.
Right? We're discussing this area,
Correct.
and everyone's on board with this area being basically setting up the golf operations to be able to function and having a valet function and location of condo 3.4, condo F, and A1, A2, and A3.
so back to, we're going to have a public hearing. We said, going back to our last item, there'll be signs posted that people can see notice of public hearing, residents?
For sure.
For the subdivision, yes.
Yeah,
No.
okay.
But
I'm
not,
hearing yes and no.
well,
so-
no, well, wait a minute. Wait. Now, you're conflating things.
Okay. I'm
Yes.
just asking, I'm not
Yes.
But they're
conflating.
also
They have not-
conflating things.
They have not made application for what they are describing now, okay?
This is adjusting the master plan.
Did,
Okay, I'm sorry.
what they are seeking to do is change condos B, C, and then break up a large building into condos A1, A2, A3, relocate condo
3.4,
3.4, and add the valet facility,
correct.
okay? That they have not made application for. If they made application for that, then you would need to hold the public hearing, so on and so forth. What you looked at tonight is they're adding to condo D, which you originally approved,
Right.
2 units. You authorized a resolution to be prepared for that. They need to create a lot for condo F because of the HOA, state's HOA guidelines, it's got to be pulled out. Because condo F doesn't have an application, doesn't exist in anybody's mind. So they're re-subdividing that. They're adjusting the lot line basically between the subdivision that you did. And you are holding a public hearing for that. So when they make application for these other changes, you're correct. They will hold a public hearing. You will hold the public hearing. And there will be notifications and there will be signage, yes.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the residents know what's going on, just like we would anywhere, and the proper signage tells them they have an opportunity to voice their opinion. All I'm asking.
Yep.
Right, 2 separate issues.
Yeah, I guess
I was late.
regarding the master development plan update, I guess one of my concerns is the potential for seeker segmentation. You know, because you guys know what you want to do. I mean, that's including the little pieces you're talking about for site plan review, but also for the other places you want to set aside for now. What, you know, maybe the board ought to be thinking about whether we should be looking at this all from a seeker standpoint, even if you're going to go different routes procedurally for what's required for authorization. That's just, I'm just putting that out there. I don't know what you.
Which is what I thought we had decided last time. I don't recall the conversation that said, like, you know, if you guys want to sort of push forward with the easy stuff, do that now. It won't require a master development plan amendment. I don't, maybe I wasn't, it's very possible that I wasn't here when that conversation happened, but I thought that I recall that when we went on the tour and last time you made the long presentation that we decided that this was going to be part of a much larger sort of holistic look at the whole property and the things that were changing, and there was going to be some metrics and some evaluation of where you were relative to traffic and all that, that this was going to be part of one big MDP review. So to Paul's point, I don't recall the sort of like, oh, well, we know what we're going to do now, so we're just going to push that forward without an amendment. Fair, I mean, that's me. I might not have been here at the meeting when that was discussed.
Well, and I just, John, do you have a different recollection?
I have no recollection. I know that we had talked about bifurcating the approvals for these two places.
Right.
How they related to the master plan, I think that was a discussion that was somewhat left open.
Yeah.
But we thought if they kept the first bite small, it wasn't an impact because condos B and C are already in the program. I think they're almost, the only thing that's changing is slightly the footprint and the way they're sliding. That might not even be changing there. But, and then where A1, A2, A3 is, that was a huge building. That was gonna be the clubhouse that really has no function now. So it thought that, so I didn't recall condo 3, 4 and that being part of that. So forgive me. But
Understood.
I suggest you may want to have something in writing that sort of describes what you're asking for. You know, because we got to think about it from the seeker standpoint too. You know, and how can you break it up? You know, if we know if it's reasonably foreseeable that it's what you want to do.
Okay, I think that's perfectly fair. Because we did talk about the bifurcation, so you know, either that or the
No, we did.
hit my head.
And procedurally, that may make sense.
What's that?
But you got to encompass it within the environmental review.
You know, I think if you package it correctly and made a consistency appeal for this, not necessarily condo 3.4 and because there was a parking barn there, but there was crazy stuff there. So I think you have to.
But if it's part of your plan, then it's reasonably foreseeable, and you ought to be looking at the totality of the impacts potentially.
So you know, and the only area that I remember added a lot of impacts was that area over where the tennis courts are. That to me was always going to be treated, and the store. That to me was always going to be treated differently because it was going to require more work. To Nina's point, it wasn't really part of the original program. But when we started talking about the totality of the changes, we weren't sure where we were going to go yet. I don't even think you folks were yet.
No,
Whether you wanted to do it in mini phase 1, B and C, mini phase 2, A, B, and C, or A 1, 2, 3,
Okay.
mini phase 3.
Because B, C, D, and E are done, with the exception of the minor modification we talked about. B, C are approved, being designed, following the site plan approvals that were already obtained. D and E, site plan approval in place.
Okay.
But I think it's a great idea, I don't remember who recommended it here, but to go back, put this on paper, submit it back to the board with a breakdown of what we're hoping to accomplish under site plan modification, and then what would be accomplished under the master plan amendment with site plan modification and present that to the board.
Makes sense.
That's exactly why we're here tonight, because we didn't want to keep consultants moving ahead, preparing things, submit it, and then, and have a
Progress is good.
communication gap. So I'll go back, we'll write that, and we'll resubmit it.
Thank you.
One last thing for you tonight.
Now I'm waiting for
This one? Oh, no. Hopefully this will be quick. Once again, a point of clarification. We have the building permit to install the foundations in Siland. Now, we ultimately had to withdraw our site plan modification so we could refer back to our original site plan approvals to get that building permit. So now we are prepared to resubmit our package and pay our $450 fee again and start the process. But the question was posed to me, well, in 3 weeks after the foundations are in, we're going to be applying for a building permit to bring the buildings up vertical. And if we submit the site plan modification before we submit for that building permit, are we going to be in the exact same position again and have to withdraw the site plan? So we're trying to understand, and the building department can't answer it, and they refers back to the planning board. So I'm here tonight. You let us know what to do, and we'll do it.
Let me, I'm gonna ask you first.
Well, typically in the past, the building that they are now constructing is smaller and fits within almost the original footprint of what was approved. Typically, what would happen is this would be considered a field change. Other folks have done it and said, hey, we're not building a full building today. We'll put the house up, we'll put the garage on next week.
Right, I understand that.
So typically what would happen is Mike would give him a foundation permit under the original approval, and then once the foundations were up, what they would do is allow them to continue with the building and withhold CO until they got the amended site plan.
Okay.
Because remember, this building, they shrunk it quite a bit, and it fits within the footprint.
Which is good.
So, from my standpoint, I think Mike is just looking for a nod from the planning board that he can allow them to continue this building with the understanding that they don't get a CO until they have their site plan amendment in place fully.
What's your pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, with this?
So,
Can you clarify, the memos that are, the emails or whatever that are going back about the order of things and how Mike relates to this, issuing his permits, and how Ian relates to this, can you just clarify that for us?
Yeah, what the conversations that were had, essentially, this ultimately is the code enforcement officer's call.
Correct.
Okay, but the code enforcement officer, in making, you're gonna get to see foundation work going out there, you're potentially gonna start to see the building. He wanted the planning board to be aware of what was going on and to make sure that essentially there was full transparency about it. So I think that's where he came out.
So it's just, we have no authority here at all.
Exactly.
So it's
But
just
Mike would not issue the
Yeah.
permits
Yeah.
until he heard that the planning board wasn't opposed to him issuing the permits, even
But
though.
we have no authority.
I understand, but it
Right.
leaves them in the catch-22 of Mike wouldn't issue the permits.
Yeah.
To
we have no authority.
stand.
But we have the authority to say,
Mike-
but that's not true. We have the authority to say we have no opposition to the permits.
Mike got caught last time because they didn't have a fully perfected approval, if you remember, and he issued
Yes,
building permits,
exactly.
and he got stung. And
Yeah.
this time, what they had is, they had an approval for a building.
They
The
have
building
signed
they,
site plans.
and they had signed site plans. The building that they want to build is slightly different. So they applied for a site plan amendment. Mike says, well, you're applied for an amendment, I'm not comfortable issuing a building permit for a different building. You want to go back to the original building? They filed, so basically, what he just wants to do is he doesn't want, at the end of the day, to get slapped in the back of the head and say, fuck up, Mike, pardon my French.
Yeah,
Okay?
the actual physical changes we're talking about are what John would call a field change. And it's more, what you all are reviewing are more the things like, okay, we want to do different things relative to lighting.
And parking.
And parking, and that sort of thing. And that's going to be the stuff that I think the planning board will be a lot more engaged in than worrying about where a set of steps are.
Yes.
So Mike just wants the
So-
ability
Okay,
to.
what's your pleasure?
So-
Let's move forward.
Can I restate?
Patch this out all night
The
long.
question is, can we resubmit Siland at this point and not be impeded in obtaining our building permit for what we already have a foundation in place for today?
So long as it is what you submitted.
And I think that the idea would be that, as John suggested, the building is being built under an existing approval. Let it continue to be built, but you don't get your certificate to occupy until the planning board is
I'm going to ask
issued its.
one more time, what does this board want to do with this?
I make a motion and tell me if this satisfies it. I say that we let Mike know that we recognize the situation and we have no issues with it. And the C of O will be approved at such time as, and fill in the blank.
I'll second that
I mean,
motion.
is that take care of
Something
this?
that requires a motion?
Well, if to cover Mike, it would.
I think that
I don't
this
think
got-
You
Normally,
basically, we need a consensus of the board. You're correct, and
I
that
think-
doesn't have to rise. If the board all consents to Ken's concept, we'll relay it to Mike and make this matter go away.
All right?
Yeah,
Sounds good to
take away
me.
the word motion, and that's what I suggest.
And that's what we're going to do.
Sounds
Okay?
good.
No objection.
No objection. Very good.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Well, I got one question on
Go.
this. Seriously, this is a serious question. About your gate down there, because I walk the rail trail every day, okay? I see events going in and out, cars going in and out there. Now, you told me when these events go, it's not gonna happen, it's gonna be closed, they're gonna be coming down on their golf carts. So what is the deal with this? Someone explain this to me.
Gates.
I walk by it every day and I see what's going on.
Silent gates
You're
are,
talking about the gates at Silent?
Yeah.
It's-
Down at the
it's-
Silan, you tell me what's going on
It's
with this.
construction traffic going in.
This
and
is
out
not
of the
construction,
project.
guys, because I seen, events going on down there, it's not construction, I can tell you that much, I'm not stupid.
Oh, you're talking about our annual event for Rocking the Ridge.
Well, whatever it was, I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm not associated with it. I'm just telling you what's going on, so I know. So my point being is this, is I see people going out of the gate, coming across the road, going onto the rail trail, okay? Taking their bicycles. I see this with my own eyes, because I walk the trail. So somewhere along the line, you're gonna have to fix this somehow, that either they go down to the crosswalk of the train station and come up that way, because there's a path, you see the path, going right across where you own the house, there's a path right there between the trees. So you might wanna research this a little bit.
Two options for that, and we're already investigating both. One of them is through an old cattle pass that goes
I know
over.
where that is, I walk by it every day.
Could connect to the rail trail.
Perfect
Second-
connect.
Second would be to
Make
go.
that happen.
Second
Good idea.
is to go through the second silent piece that exists and come around to where the crosswalk is.
Make something happen anyway, so don't get hit by a car,
Fair enough.
okay?
understood.
Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board.
Okay, next up is Keen Stud. You gotta
Abstain.
recuse yourself.
Recuse, sorry.
Hey, have a good Thanksgiving, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Enjoy.
Bye.
I know, I can make it happen, no. Go ahead. You're up.
All right. So, good evening, Chairman, members of the board, Diana Kolev from the firm of Del Bello, Donnell and Weingarten, Wise and Whitaker, and also here tonight, Peter Farrow of AKRF, as well as Peter Sander of Rennie Engineering. So I just wanted to bring us back to where we are in the process. As you know, your board adopted a positive declaration on September 10th. Then on September 25th, you accepted a draft scope. And on October 22nd is when we held the scoping session over in the auditorium. And at that session, there was a court reporter that created a transcript of the session. That transcript was emailed over to Judy, so you have that in your record. We took all of those comments from that scoping session, and Mr. Farrow created a memorandum that was addressing those comments, as well as all written comments that came in until October 29th, so because there was an additional time period that was granted. So that was submitted on November 5th. Then late last week, I believe it was on Friday, we were informed that there were 2 other comments that we had not received and that were submitted. I don't know why we didn't receive them in a timely fashion for us to be able to respond to them, but we did take a look at them, and we did submit a supplemental memo as well as a letter yesterday. I know that the town was likely closed, but we did submit it, so we are prepared to discuss those if you'd like to do that tonight. But, generally speaking, most of those comments, as well as the comments that did come in, there were a lot of duplicative comments, and a lot that, were already covered in the scope, were substantive in nature, which would be addressed in the environmental impact statement itself, or were not relevant. So, we have, like I said, we have Mr. Farrow here. He can go through any questions that you might have on that, but, we do feel that at this point, the board has what it needs to be able to adopt a final scope. Secret does require that the board adopt a final scope 60 days after the acceptance of a draft scope, and so that's where we are today. We don't see why there would be any reason to delay this, but I'd like to hear from the board.
Well, we'll refer to John first.
This one, thankfully, I am not involved. I am indirectly, but this all falls on the legal folks in the audience.
Yeah. So with this, Diana laid it out pretty well there. What happened is that on, the last day, October 29th, the last day that written public comment was to come in, we received written public comments from, that were unexpected, to be honest with you. I mean, and they were detailed, and they were critical of the planning board's review to date of seeker. And so, and they were, basically in talking with John, and this I will keep you involved in, and we kind of agreed that we really needed board authorization to respond to these comments, in part because of the source. And we also need to take all of the comments and prepare a draft final scope for you all. So our thought was, or my thinking, and talked with George Janes as well, because these comments, they brought into question the board's FEAF Part 2 analysis, and basically suggested that there might be additional significant adverse impacts that should be included in the environmental impact statement. And also, agriculture was a common theme, that was one, but this went beyond that and talked about traffic and some of the other impacts. Also suggested some additional alternatives that should be considered in terms of the visual impact analysis. So, take it all together, our suggestion, I did reach out to Diana last week, and that's when I found that they hadn't even seen these comments, was that it would be better and would be better for all of us, frankly, because the board has to take a hard look under seeker. There's a 60-day time frame in the seeker regulations, and if we don't meet that, the only thing the applicant can do is they can go ahead and they can do a draft environmental impact statement based on the draft scope. But, what we saw in these comments was some serious thoughts that were raised. The applicant has responded to those. We got their response a couple days ago. I think it would behoove the board and the applicant for your consultants to take the time to go through the comments, to have potentially some discussions with the applicant, and to prepare a draft final scope for your review and consideration at the December meeting. So that's basically, from my standpoint, it's more a question of,
if I may,
how the board wants to go about finalizing it. I don't recommend that you do it on the fly, as is suggested tonight. I would hope that the applicant would see the reasonableness of the request, given the unexpected comments that were received, and let us just take the time to get it right so that the board is taking its hard look under seeker.
and I don't think, from Paul's standpoint and my standpoint, we've looked at the scope, we've looked at the draft scope. We might have a minor disagreement with Mr. Farrow in terms of an addition to it. But what I think is more concerning to both Paul and myself is I don't want to say the underlying, but some of the underpinning to the arguments that were in one of the letters, because it called into question a substantial amount of work that you folks did and these folks did. And what we didn't want to do was go down the road and not make sure they were properly accommodated. I think both Paul and I believe, for the most part, most of those are properly accommodated in the current scope. We have a couple minor tweaks that we might want to make, but for the most part, even though I said I'm doing what I said I wouldn't, we need to make sure that whatever action this board takes
is backed up.
So that, God forbid, but likely to occur, that a judge doesn't have an opinion on the matter.
So, in other words, just make sure we dot our I's, cross our T's in this whole project.
That's right.
Because the public's really looking at us really hard, and it's going to be the process all the way through this. I know this. I said this when it was first brought up 8 years ago, maybe, whatever it was. I don't know. It was a long time ago. I didn't know that much. I was probably chair of the board then when it was brought up the first time around, and I said this is going to be a potential problem, and I know it's going to be. So what I would suggest is we let our council and our engineer do what they have to do. That's just my own suggestion. We need a motion so they can proceed forward, I guess.
Well, can I
Go ahead.
say one thing? Is that, if that's okay?
That's fine.
It's your meeting, not mine. And I appreciate it. Peter Farrow with AKRF.
Yeah.
I would just ask if there are issues and questions that we address them and we be part of that conversation.
Well, that's what I'm going to authorize these two gentlemen right here to respond to whatever questions and answers go back and forth.
Would it? Are there any questions, concerns, comments, underpinning, and I know exactly what you mean, that are worth bringing up and discussing now?
In other words, I think...
I had a lovely drive up here, and I will enjoy my drive home.
I think, Peter, to be honest with you, I think the board is really looking to us. They've done their homework, and their board's looking for us to put the capstone on it. So I think what Mr. Boyles is suggesting is that they're going to authorize Paul and myself to work with you to iron out the bugs. Paul and I don't think there are any substantive issues other than perhaps an expanded discussion of agriculture in the scope, because,
Yeah, and I want to engage George James
Yes.
in it as well.
so we'd like to get, and we'd like to, as Paul said, we'd like to get,
Yeah, if I might, and that letter that was received was amazingly detailed. And there's only one thing that was mentioned that I was perplexed about and might be appropriate tonight. There was mention of bringing in another planner.
Yeah,
And I think that's something that I didn't quite understand, and I think that if we're going to address it, that's something that should be addressed this evening.
I think the only issue with that is that bringing in a new planner, someone who has not even touched the file, is not.
You reinventing the wheel.
and I think what you have to,
Within that
Let me just
document.
speak a little bit further, because I actually was thinking about this. The one thing, and that's the other reason I do want to get George James into the conversation. He is a certified planner. He knows the project. He's not like Peter or Nina in terms of doing it every day, but he has a better, what I could actually, and I know John agrees, we could actually use some of that sort of planner perspective.
I think I was going to say the same thing Paul just articulated. Bringing someone new in is going to set this back, which I don't think is worthwhile. Mr. James has a lot of experience with the town. He has a lot of experience with the process. And even though he may not be the lead planner, his ability to interface with Paul and I and add value to our reviews, I think what we would like to see is you actually consider us asking him to expand his role slightly to help us through the whole process.
I think that's really beneficial, and it will help us and
You'll
make
get
the
a better
whole
product.
process more efficient.
All right, so we need some sort of motion on this and move this forward. Go
So,
ahead.
sorry, just one more thing I wanted to add,
That's
which
okay.
is, so again, and I think everyone understands this here, that we're talking about the scope, right? Not the EIS itself and all the substance that's going to go into that document. So we're still going to go through all of the areas of concern that we've identified. That's all going to happen. This is literally just the outline of what we're covering, which is already fairly detailed. So I just want to state that for the record. But also, I think we for purposes of moving this forward, I know that you need to do what you need to do, but from our perspective, we're still going to consider whether or not we will take advantage of the 60-day timeframe where we may proceed with that draft scope in its form, because that was the intention under SECRA. And so that is something that that's still under consideration.
And I think the planning board, my recommendation would be for the planning board to proceed to develop a final scope to give to you all less than a month from now.
Mhm.
And I don't think there is any judge anywhere who would say, oh, no, that's not right. That you're stuck with what you didn't do within 60 days. So.
I don't think we need to, I think we have to do what we have to do, you have to do what you have to do.
Right, so I just wanted to leave it at that, and I do want to remind the board that there is also, you also do have the remainder of November. I realize that you don't have a second meeting, but, the time doesn't run until, I believe, by my calculations, November 24th or 25th. So you do have the entirety of next week. So I just want to put that out there, because that is something that you need to be aware of.
Well, I understand. You just have to appreciate that the planning board got thrown a curveball. It has some detailed information in it, some good suggestions potentially, but things that need to be responded to.
Okay.
And they need to be able to feel comfortable, and I really appreciate you having put a letter together so people can respond, but they need to have that comfort level that they've covered dotted all their i's and crossed their t's as they adopt a final scope.
Yeah.
So.
So we need a motion from someone here to authorize George James, Paul, and John to correspond with the applicants.
And respond to the comments.
The comments,
Prepare a final scope.
prepare a final scope and so forth. Someone want to make that motion?
Make the motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. So carries then.
Okay, and we'll work, if we can get you a rough draft of a scope in advance of the determination date, we will attempt to do that.
Yes, we
Well,
will.
I appreciate that.
One final motion. I want to say happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Same to you, sir.
There's always one thing I gotta say. That wasn't a close.
Excuse me, boss,
Yes.
1 minute on this subject. Just putting my own comment in it on the, reading all these things that came into us from these different people. A lot of them are the same and most visual and stuff, but Scenic Hudson, I think, really did a wonderful job and needs to be looked at really closely.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
The only thing I want to say is, and I'm always going to say something about fire prevention, no matter what. It's called Edith. It's called Exit Drills in the Home. It's because Christmas season's coming. People should be practicing this in case your Christmas tree catches on fire. Make sure you water them, so forth. What is it called? Edith. Exit Drills in the Home. Okay? Very important. Keep that in mind. Okay? That's well. Find a spot in your yard to meet in case something happens. Very important stuff. Okay? Other than that, we need a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Judy,
Need a second?
What's on the agenda next?
Too much. Oh, sorry.
I don't know, what are you gonna put on there?
I'm done for tonight.
We
I need a second for the adjournment.
Often said, public hearing.
We have a second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I'll find out. It'll
What
be a
was